Chapter 3175. Lu Yuan was taken aback by Elder Gu's words and he gave Lu Yin a strange look. Was he lying through his teeth? Even great Elder Gu admitted it. The butterfly was also stunned for a moment. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm very sure it's this clan. Please don't make things difficult for me. Lu Yin looked at the butterfly seriously. I'm not making things difficult for you. It really isn't them. It's the Eternals. It's this clan. No. Please don't make things difficult for me. I'm not making things difficult for you. In fact, I'm happy to help you. If the Eternals don't agree to be expelled, I'll help you. Sorry, it is indeed this clan. Absolutely not. They're the Eternals. I'm very sure of it. I'll help you drive them away. Lu Yuan was speechless. He was domineering and even a rascal at times, but he was far from being comparable to this kid. Where did he learn to lie through his teeth and throw dirty water at him? He felt that it was too much to force others to believe him when they didn't believe him. The butterfly felt that it was impossible to communicate. Please don't make things difficult for me. I'm from this race. Lu Yin retorted. What makes you think that it's the Lost Clan? Where's the evidence? Butterfly paused. I can feel it. Lu Yin shook his head. Look, the word feeling is too abstract. How can it be convincing? I'm certain that the Eternals don't belong to this universe. I can feel it too. Do you believe me? The more abstract it was, the easier it was to manipulate it. If it were anyone else, why would the butterfly hold back? It would directly take away the Lost Clan. However, it was rather troubled by Lu Yin mainly because Lu Yuan was also at the primordial realm. Human, what is your name? Butterfly asked. Lu Yin replied naturally, call me Seventh Bro. Great Elder Shan Gu's face twitched. The butterfly did not know how to respond. Human, I bear you no ill will. It is my duty to expel those who do not belong to this universe. If you insist on giving me a hard time, I might drag you down with me. My name is Grace, and there is another called Heaven's Punishment. It specializes in punishing creatures who do not obey its rules, especially this race. If they do not leave, it will appear. It is not as easy to talk to as I am. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. Everything has to be reasonable. Find evidence that the Lost Clan doesn't belong to this universe and I'll help you banish them. Otherwise, listen to me and investigate the Everlasting Clan. They definitely don't belong to this universe and I can confront them. The butterfly said helplessly, Human, if you incur divine punishment, you will regret it. Lu Yin covered his forehead. Yes, I also think that I will regret it, but if you can't produce any evidence, how can I hand the Lost Clan over to you? You see, your duty is to expel people who don't belong to this universe, but you didn't do it properly. How about this? I'll point you in the right direction. There's a guy from the Eternals called Fengbua. His power is called the Defense of the Nine Heavens. He said he doesn't belong to this universe. Why don't you go and take a look? Butterfly was surprised. The God of Defense of the Nine Heavens? Is that what that person said? You think I'm making it up? How disrespectful. Also call me Seventh Brother. I'll go and ask the Eternal. Humans, this race doesn't belong to this universe. They must be expelled. I'll come again. I hope you won't make things difficult for me. Otherwise, divine punishment will come. With that, the butterfly turned and flew away, taking the light with it. When the light disappeared, all the lost clansmen returned to normal. Lu Yin's face darkened. His face darkened. This butterfly was also troublesome. It had interfered in the previous battle and now it was here again. Although it was the Eternals who had told it about the lost tribe, since it had been used by the Eternals once, it could be used again just like the star toad. The Eternals really had many tricks up their sleeves. Gentlemen, let me take you to a place, Elder Dan Gu said to Lu Yin and Lu Yuan after the butterfly left. The two of them silently followed Great Elder Dan Gu to a relatively large but shabby building made of unknown materials. The building was filled with the scars of time with all sorts of weapon marks and battle scars. There were even black stains on the walls that Lu Yin and Lu Yin knew what they were. As soon as they entered the building, they smelled an unpleasant odor of decay. Elder Dan Gu walked in front of them with a complicated expression. There were courtyards, attics, corridors and even a small bridge with flowing water. However, the water had long since dried up. No matter how they looked at it, this building was uninhabited. This is the place where we lived on our way to this universe. Elder Dan Gu looked back at Lu Yuan and Lu Yin with sorrow and bitterness. as if he was reminiscing about something. When we came here, our lost clan only had 3,262 people. I don't know how much time has passed, but it has been at least several years. For several years, not a single person spoke. Everyone lived here in silence, just like a shell. In truth, they know we are indeed just shells. That final battle connected the past and the present. One after another, the old seniors tread on the river of time to come here. Some of them planned for the ages, some of them pretended to be dead, all for the sake of that final battle. We won. That was the most difficult battle we have ever seen. It lasted for a very long time and far too many people died. It is simply impossible to count. Elder Dangu recalled, there were no innocents in that battle. Even the ordinary people who didn't know about it weren't innocent, because they were born in that universe and were destined to bear the karma of that universe. Humans were like weeds, and when a batch died, another batch would be born. At that time, everyone was in a killing frenzy and no one cared about the lives of others. They only had eyes for the enemy. In the end, that battle still ended with our victory. But Great Elder Dangu closed his eyes and became silent. Lu Yuan looked at Lu Yin. He didn't know what had happened to the lost clan, but Lu Yin had heard about it. But so what if we defeated the enemy? We thought that the most difficult battle, the most beautiful victory, and the fruits of victory that were irrigated with countless lives were nothing more than a pebble in the eyes of a certain existence. That's why we fled and came to this universe. We didn't say these things to get the celestial sect to protect us. It's the exact opposite. Elder Dangu looked at Lu Yin. Let Tianan send us back. We can't resist that existence, but I want to see that existence again. I want to see our home. We can't find our home ourselves. If Tianan can help us find it, we'd rather go back. It can't find it. A voice suddenly rang out and the surroundings turned gray, gradually expanding. Lu Yuan raised an eyebrow and looked in a certain direction. Seeing this, Lu Yin was overjoyed. Master. Elder Dangu was surprised. Who was it? He had not noticed when the other person had appeared at all. Nearby, Mr. Mu emerged from the void and walked over step by step. He looked at Lu Yuan and Lu Yuan looked at him as well. Congratulations, fertile earth. You've reached the primordial realm, Mr. Mu praised. Lu Yuan smiled. Mr. Mu, long time no see. Mr. Mu was on the same level as the founding ancestor. He had appeared when the celestial sect was at its peak, so he naturally had seen Lu Yuan and the others. Moreover, he had seen them when they were young. In the blink of an eye, you've all grown up. The Inception School has produced some good disciples, Mr. Mu praised. Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. You're joking, mister. The celestial sect has been destroyed. We've either died or gone missing. There aren't many who survived, so how can there be any good disciples? Alright, there's also a traitor. Mr. Mu smiled. You were able to reach the primordial realm, but this might not be your end. I have high hopes for you. Thank you, mister. Thank you even more for teaching our little seven. Lu Yuan was truly grateful. Mr. Mu looked at Lu Yin. The path is getting more and more blurry. I didn't teach you anything. Lu Yin bowed. Master, why have you come? How's Immemorial City? How's the founding ancestor? Lu Yuan was excited. He had heard from Lu Yin that the founding ancestor was in Immemorial City. This made him want to go to Immemorial City, but he could not let go of this place. Mr. Mu said, Immemorial City is fine. Because of your activities, the Eternals' war has slowed down. I never thought that even the protectors of the four directions would be drawn out. The group was puzzled. The protectors of the four directions? Mr. Mu looked at Elder Dangu. The protectors of the four directions are responsible for guarding the four sides of this universe. Any creatures from the outside universe will be expelled by the protectors of the four directions, and you are no exception. That butterfly was right. This is its duty. However, there is something that you do not understand. Expulsion does not mean that you will find your home. Elder Dangu's expression changed. What do you mean? Mr. Mu said, expulsion means that you will be thrown out of this universe. This is done out of fear for you and the above heavens sect. If you were an ordinary creature without much strength or background, then it would not be expelled but rather killed. The protectors of the four directions are responsible for cleaning up all creatures that do not belong to this universe. They can either expel them or kill them. They do not have the ability to help you find your home. They only belong to this universe and they only exist in this universe. Elder Dangu's expression darkened. He had thought that he could use the butterfly to return to his home, but if the butterfly could not help him return, then what right did he have to leave? In this universe, even progenitors did not dare to casually tear through the void and enter an unfamiliar parallel universe, let alone throw them into an unfamiliar universe. That would be equivalent to forcing them to their deaths. Master, what do you mean by this universe? Who set the rules for the protectors of the four directions? Or did they form an alliance on their own? Lu Yin asked. Mr. Mu said, when it's time for you to know, you will know. A certain existence has appeared in my universe and the Lost Clan's universe. I cannot speak of it or it will easily draw them out. Lu Yin's heart sank. Was even Mr. Mu so fearful? How strong are the protectors of the four directions? Lu Yuan asked. Mr. Mu said, they are all at the primordial realm. Lu Yuan frowned. This was troublesome. If they wanted to protect the Lost Clan, they would have to face four primordial realm experts. They would not be as easy to deal with as the Eternals. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Are they purely fulfilling their duties, or are they helping the Eternals in the name of their duties? Mr. Mu paused. Both. Chapter 3176. Killing intent flashed through Lu Yin's eyes. As expected, the butterfly had said that it wanted both sides to stop fighting during the first battle of Disaster Realm, but it was actually helping the everlasting race. Now the sect above heaven had just issued a military decree and it was here again. If it took away the lost race, where would the sect above heaven's face go? The everlasting race only needed to spread the news a little and Lu Yin would become a joke. No matter how he looked at it, the butterfly was helping the everlasting race. Mr. Mu said solemnly, the protectors of the four directions are not to be trifled with. I also sensed Tianan's aura, which was why I had no choice but to come here from Immemorial City. If you want to protect the lost race, you have to fight the protectors of the four directions with your full strength. With the current strength of the humans, you might be able to deal with the protectors of the four directions, but the everlasting race will be very difficult to deal with. We'll do it ourselves, Elder Xiangu said sternly. The lost race rarely interacted with other civilizations because they did not want to lose anything. Now it was the same. They could be lost to other civilizations since they were not familiar with each other. Lu Yuan could not help but say, since the protectors of the four directions have their duties, they shouldn't fight us to the death for the sake of the lost race. If we really end up killing them, their duties will become even more useless. Mr. Mu said, sending 2 or 3 is not a problem. The protectors of the four directions rarely appear. It's been so many years and they've only appeared a few times because creatures that do not belong to this universe have difficulty coming here. They have their own methods. But there's one thing that might be an opportunity. The protectors of the four directions seem like 4 creatures, but they're actually responsible for one direction. If the lost race does not rely on external forces and faces one of them alone, the other 3 might not be drawn over. This is the only way to protect ourselves without starting a full-scale war with the protectors of the four directions. Lu Yuan shook his head. How can the lost race fight against a primordial realm expert? Elder Xiangu was helpless. If the lost race were at their peak, 1 or 2 primordial realm experts would not be a problem at all. But now they were just remnants of a race that had fled. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. The lost race could deal with the butterfly alone. Mr. Mu looked at Lu Yin and smiled. Congratulations on leading the sect above heaven once more. The military decree very interesting. Mr. Mu's praise was something that he had always sought after. No matter how well he performed in the past, Mr. Mu had always acted as if he didn't care at all. This had made him somewhat sullen, but now he could hear that Mr. Mu was truly praising him. And he too deserved to be praised. Thank you, Master. Mr. Mu nodded and looked at Lu Yuan. About Taichu, if you can defeat the Eternals, go to Primeval City and meet us there. That will be the place of the final battle. You will see Taichu there and perhaps many familiar faces. Lu Yuan clenched his fists. We will definitely meet up with Master in Immemorial City. The grayness around Mr. Mu gradually faded. I can't appear for long. The Eternals are also watching me. Everyone will meet again in Immemorial City. With that, his figure disappeared. Lu Yin had many questions for Mr. Mu, but he had already left. In the past, he did not understand why Mr. Mu had come and gone in such a hurry. Now he understood. Mr. Mu had been keeping an eye on Immemorial City while hiding his presence from the Eternals. This was because he knew too much. If he stayed for too long, Immemorial City would be in danger. The stronger one was, the more helpless they would be. They would never be able to experience the freedom of ordinary people. After Mr. Mu left, Lu Yuan looked at Grand Elder Shan Gu and asked, "Do you have the confidence to deal with that butterfly?" Great Elder Shan Gu shook his head and said, "When it appeared, I was already under its control. I can't deal with it." Lu Yuan looked at Lu Yin. This was troublesome. If the above heaven wanted to protect the lost clan, they would have to face 4 primordial realm experts. Mr. Mu had appeared just in time, or they would not even know that they had gained 4 more primordial realm experts. Now, it all depended on the above heaven sect's decision. Would they abandon the lost clan, or would they rather face 4 more primordial realm experts? Grand Elder Shan Gu bowed slowly towards Lu Yin. Above Heaven sect, one of the 3 sons and 6 lords, Shan Gu, formally requests to leave the Above Heaven sect. My lost clan has been heartless. We have clearly received the Above Heaven sect's grace, but we have to leave because our clansmen are xenophobic. None of this has anything to do with the Above Heaven sect. Dowlord, please allow my lost clan to leave. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered. Grand Elder Shan Gu wanted to take responsibility for everything. He did not want the Above Heaven sect to be cursed or make things difficult for Lu Yin. Once they left the Above Heaven sect, the lost clan would not necessarily be expelled. They might even be killed. This would be the most miserable outcome for the lost clan. My lost clan has gone through far too much. We were originally a remnant clan of a universe. We should not have been alive a long time ago. Please allow us to leave, Dowlord. Grand Elder Shan Gu maintained his bow as he made his request politely. As an expert only second to the primordial realm, he was acting so humbly. Even Lu Yuan was shocked. With his personality, he did not care about the protectors of the 4 cardinal regions or the Eternals. So what if they were all enemies? The Lu family had never feared them. However, not only did they represent the Lu family now, but they also represented the Above Heaven sect and humanity. Just how righteous was it to unite the various parallel universes in the past? Now he could not shatter humanity's hopes of defeating the Eternals for the sake of the lost clan. Even Lu Yuan could not accept such an outcome. He was not afraid of death. He could lead the Lu family to their deaths, but he could not bury the entire human race. He could not help but look at Lu Yin. Lu Yuan knew that this decision was a great test for Lu Yin. Once he abandoned the lost clan, there would definitely be a thorn in Lu Yin's heart. It might affect his future cultivation. This might also be the Eternal's goal. In particular, once he abandoned the lost clan, what would the other parallel universes that were allied with the Above Heaven sect think? It would be a devastating blow. Whether he gave up or not, it was impossible. The Eternals would not allow the lost clan to leave the Above Heaven sect. They would definitely tell the truth. There was no need to rely on luck. Lu Yin's expression was solemn. I, Lu Yin, as the Tao Master of the Above Heaven sect, formally reject this request. Lu Yuan was calm. He was not surprised. Great Elder Shan Gu was in pain. He bowed even deeper. Please allow the lost clan to leave. This is the fault of the lost clan. It should not be borne by everyone in this universe. Please consider the big picture. Lu Yin raised his hand, wanting to lift Great Elder Shan Gu up. Great Elder Shan Gu did not move. He maintained his bow. Please allow the lost clan to leave, Tao Master. Lu Yin looked at Great Elder Shan Gu. Do you know that once we leave the Above Heaven sect, the entire lost clan will disappear completely? That butterfly was obviously asked by the Eternals to make trouble for me. If we sacrifice the lost clan, the next one may be the Void God universe or the Wood universe. No one can say for sure. Great Elder Shan Gu sighed. Since it has not appeared for so many years, the guardians of the 4 directions must have their scruples. Tao Master, please consider the big picture. The humans of this universe should not pay the price for our mistakes. We are just a group of deserters who are afraid of death. Lu Yin laughed. Who is not afraid of death? Great Elder, don't be in a hurry to run away. Let's discuss. Maybe there is a way for you to deal with that butterfly alone. Great Elder Shan Gu was helpless. If there was a way, I would not be like this. Here, Tao Master, let go. Lu Yin stared at Great Elder Shan Gu. If I can upgrade your Heavenly King card, do you think you can block that butterfly? Great Elder Shan Gu looked up and stared blankly at Lu Yin. What did you say? Lu Yin repeated, I have the ability to upgrade your Heavenly King card. Can you block that butterfly? Great Elder Xiangu's eyes widened. How? Just ask if you can block the butterfly, Lu Yin urged. Great Elder Xiangu straightened up and thought seriously. I can't win, but it can't take me away. Lu Yin smiled. Then it's done. On the other side, the butterfly, Grace, arrived at the first zone of disaster and shone down. Heavenly Sovereign Battler watched the butterfly fly over his head and did not stop it. He knew that the butterfly could not kill him, but he could not stop it either. He could only spit. The butterfly's arrival attracted the attention of the entire first zone of disaster. Great heavenly sovereigns opened their eyes and looked up. Eternals. On the Black Mother Tree, the sole true God was almost at the same height as the butterfly. He failed. I have to give face to the above heaven sect, the butterfly said softly. The sole true God laughed. Then what's the duty of the four guardians? The butterfly flapped its wings. You told me about the lost race during the above heaven sect's martial conference because you wanted to use me to attack the above heaven sect. I can't refuse, but the above heaven sect's Tao master also told me something. Is there someone in the Eternals called Fengbo? The sole true God nodded. Yes, he is one of the Eternals' 3 pillars and 6 boundless. However, he is not in the race most of the time. Where is he? I want to see him. He's already dead. The butterfly was surprised. Dead? The sole true God said, not long ago he died at Lu Yin's hands. Didn't he tell you? The butterfly was silent for a moment. This Fengbo doesn't belong to this universe. The sole true God smiled. He doesn't belong. I brought him here. Why? During the first divine admonition, the race lacked manpower. He contributed the most to the destruction of the second continent. You are ignoring the four guardians. The four guardians' duty is to expel or eliminate creatures that don't belong to this universe. The prerequisite is that the creature is in this universe. I brought him here. If you discovered him and wanted to expel him, I wouldn't stop you. However, you didn't discover him. How I know. But Fengbo is also dead. The butterfly fell silent again. Eternal, do you think I will believe that Fengbo died at Tao Master Lu's hands? The sole true God said, whether you believe it or not, this is the truth. If you are willing, you can investigate. As long as you can find Fengbo, the Eternals won't stop you from expelling him. Similarly, I hope that you can expel the lost race as soon as possible. But we'll find Fengbo. Remember, don't try to use us. Otherwise, Tianfa will come looking for you. The butterfly flapped its wings and disappeared. The sole true God calmly watched without speaking. Below, the Grand Empyrean frowned. The conversation between the sole true God and the butterfly had not been hidden from her. She realized that she still knew too little about this universe. The four guardians? He seemed to have heard of them before. Chapter 3177. In the primordial space, Lu Yin looked at the card in front of him. It belonged to Great Elder Xiangu and was called Heavenly King. The card was like a second life for the Lost Clan. The fact that Great Elder Dangu was willing to give the card to Lu Yin meant that he had absolute trust in Lu Yin. Lu Yin had previously hesitated on whether or not he should help Grand Elder Xiangu upgrade his card's grade, but he had put it aside. Now he could only do this. It didn't matter if the butterflies helped the Eternals or not. What mattered was that the Eternals had a way to get the butterflies to help them. The Lost Clan was just the beginning. As the Eternals grew weaker, they would only become more and more resourceful. However, there were only so many powerhouses in this universe, and Lu Yin did not believe that the Eternals would be able to hold on. Raising his hand, Zhou Xian took out the die. Flicking his finger, he watched as the die slowly spun before finally stopping at 3. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. It was a good sign. He placed the Heavenly King card on the table and then began to crazily toss out star essence. Upgrading Eternal Darkness had cost Lu Yin 100 trillion star essence, which was a rather exaggerated number. Upgrading a Heavenly Emperor card would not be a small amount either. 100 trillion. This was a sum that Lu Yin had gone to great lengths to obtain, and he had never expected to use it all up in such a short period of time. No, he had to think of a way to obtain more star essence. It was impossible for him to do so in the primordial space, so he would have to use the reincarnation spacetime. Although their powers were opposite, they could still be used. As the star essence continued to be consumed, the Heavenly Emperor card also continued to drop until it was completely gone. Just like the Perpetual Darkness card, it had been reduced to 100 trillion star essence. He reached out and picked up the Heavenly King card. In an instant the same scene happened. In the lost time and space, the clansmen were surprised to find that their cards were inexplicably facing a direction, as if they were worshipping. Great Elder Dangu was currently in the Above Heaven sect and he similarly noticed this matter. He looked towards the rear mountains. He finally understood. So that was how it was. It wasn't an ancient card that appeared before, but rather eternal darkness. Lu Yin had upgraded eternal darkness to the level of an ancient card, which was why such a phenomenon had occurred. Now the Heavenly King card had definitely succeeded. He didn't know how Lu Yin had done it, but it was too miraculous. This was something that not even the clan's peak had been able to accomplish, and how long had it been since then? For a moment, Great Elder Gu felt as if Lu Yin's entire body was shrouded in a dense fog, making him seem unfathomable. While waiting anxiously, Great Elder Dangu received the Heavenly King card. Looking at the Heavenly King card again, the familiar feeling of blood connection was still there, but there was an additional sense of unfamiliarity. It was as though there was a barrier between him and the card. This was the power of the ancient card. He was still a progenitor and had not reached the primordial realm, so it would not be easy for him to use the ancient card. Head Elder, let's give it a try. It would be best if we can block the butterfly, but if we can't then we'll think of something else, Lu Yin said. Lu Yuan looked at the card curiously and then at Lu Yin. He recalled the one true God's words. Perhaps only turbid treasures had such a miraculous ability. Not long after, Great Elder Dangu returned to the Lost Clan. He was somewhat excited because he saw another path. Since Lu Yin could upgrade his card to the level of an ancient card, could he do it again? Lu Yin didn't give this answer, but he didn't reject it either. This allowed Great Elder Dangu to see a ray of hope. It was because the Lost Clan, which was once at their peak, had existed for a long time. The ancient card was precisely the card that had revealed a corner and dealt a blow to that existence. If there was another card like that, it might not be impossible to resist. This was just the Lost Clan, and there were various civilizations in this spacetime as well. With Lu Yin's ability, what could he not do? For a moment, Great Elder Dangu looked at Lu Yin in a different light. Not long after Great Elder Dangu returned to the Lost Clan, the butterfly came again. This time Lu Yuan did not appear and Lu Yin went instead. He wanted to see how Great Elder Dangu would block the butterfly. Tianan, if you want to throw our clan out, then come and try. No one will help us, but we won't let you do whatever you want to us. Great Elder Dangu looked at the butterfly and his tone was completely different from before. This time it was filled with hope. The butterfly flapped its wings. Lord Lu, what's the attitude of your Above Heaven sect? Please don't make things difficult for me. Lu Yin raised his brows. I won't make things difficult for you. Do as you please. Thank you. You're someone who understands the big picture. The butterfly was grateful and its voice was very pleasant. Lu Yin's lips curled up. I also thank you for helping the Everlasting Clan find trouble with me. Also call me Seventh Bro. I didn't help the Everlasting Clan. I owe the Everlasting Clan a favor and you humans owe me as well. My attitude towards you is the same. Lu Yin asked, what about Fengbo? Did you banish him? The Everlasting Clan said that Fengbo is dead and that he died at your hands. Lu Yin mocked, how laughable. Do you believe that yourself? A dignified powerhouse of the sequence laws died at the hands of a half-progenitor like me. Moreover, I just said that Fengbo doesn't belong to this universe and the Everlasting Clan says that Fengbo is dead. You only target the Lost Clan, but why don't I see you targeting the Everlasting Clan? I'm really sorry. I'll definitely give you humans an explanation for Fengbo's death. Now please deal with the Lost Clan first. According to Mr. Mu, the Lost Clan had to deal with Tianan alone if they did not want the protectors of the Four Directions to act. Regardless of whether they could stop them or not, the protectors of the Four Directions would not act against the Above Heaven sect. Moreover, if the opponent was only the Lost Clan, only one of the protectors of the Four Directions would act. At this moment, the butterfly's gaze was fixed on Dangu. In the Lost Clan, only Dangu was worthy of her attention. Aside from Dangu, the other ancestors of the Lost Clan, including Dan Zheng and Dan Yen, were not present. If Dangu could not stop them, then they could not. You're called Dangu, right? The butterfly spoke gently. Great Elder Dangu looked at the butterfly. My Lost Clan does not belong to this universe, but after being here for so many years, we've long regarded this universe as our home. We fought against the everlasting clan together and formed a deep friendship. Why can't you accept my clan? Your fate is determined by the heavens. Since your lost clan does not belong to this universe, you should not stay here. Leave. I can show you the way out. The butterfly fluttered her wings. This was her respect for the lost clan. The lost clan was not weak, especially with the above heaven sect nearby. He would not go too far. Great Elder Dangu's eyes flashed. Is it the way back to our home? The butterfly was helpless. I'm sorry. I don't know where your home is, so I can't show you the way. I can only show you the way out of this universe. You've pointed out the direction. Where is the end? What kind of starry sky awaits us? Do you know? Great Elder Dangu asked. The butterfly did not answer. Her meaning was clear. It was simple, she did not know either. Her duty was to eliminate creatures that did not belong to this universe, not to help them find a way back. As for whether they lived or died after leaving this universe, it was not within the Guardian's consideration. Lu Yin suddenly thought of Mr. Mu. Mr. Mu clearly did not belong to this universe, which meant that the everlasting clan was at a disadvantage. Since he had mentioned the lost clan, he naturally would not forget about Mr. Mu. When he thought of this, Lu Yin looked at the butterfly and his eyes flashed with killing intent. The Guardians were definitely enemies. Some people were awe-inspiring, righteous, and separated public from private interests, but others were protective of their own shortcomings. Lu Yin was obviously the latter. He would give a certain degree of fairness to strangers and protect their dignity, but he would protect the people around him even more. Mr. Mu was obviously the closest to him as he was his master. Regardless of whether the Guardians were helping the everlasting clan or not, even if they were just fulfilling their duties, Lu Yin would not allow them to attack Mr. Mu. Furthermore, it seemed that the Guardians were more inclined to side with the everlasting clan. The butterfly had made it sound good, saying that they would give an explanation to the humans. But how? It was just an excuse to attack the lost clan. Elder Xiangu sighed. It looks like you don't care about us. No matter what, we're guests from afar. Is there no way for us to stay? The butterfly's voice was as gentle as ever. I've already said what I need to say. If you insist on staying, I can only take action. I'm truly sorry. Dao Lord Lu, let me remind you that there are 4 existences like me. If you humans insist on protecting this clan, we might become your opponents. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening me? No, it's a reminder, a kind reminder. I really don't want to become your enemy. Sorry. With that, the butterfly flapped its wings and the flowing light was beautiful. It immediately replaced the lost clan's starry sky, causing it to become multicolored without any prior signs. Lu Yin's expression changed. This was the power of a primordial realm expert. There were no signs of them attacking, but they could instantly change the lost clan's starry sky. A primordial realm expert might not necessarily be much more powerful than a progenitor, but they had an advantage, which was that they could not get close to their opponents. This was why sequence lower realm experts would directly lower their heads before a primordial realm expert. When the light flowed, the lost clan's starry sky came to a standstill. It was like a beautiful painting that enveloped the entire lost clan, making it impossible for anyone to move. Lu Yin could move, but the butterfly did not attack him. He could not move either. Perhaps the butterfly did not attack him because it did not give him a reason to attack, or perhaps it was giving him an opportunity to attack. However, Lu Yin did not need to do anything. Even Ancestor Lu Yuan had not come. The Heavenly Emperor card hovered above Grand Elder Shangu's head. 3 statues stood there vaguely. Their appearances could not be seen clearly, but they possessed mountainous presences that crushed the starry sky and faced the butterfly directly. When the butterfly's light came into contact with the 3 statues, it actually collapsed, unable to approach them. Lu Yin's eyes widened. The light caused the starry sky to flow, but it was unable to approach Grand Elder Xiangu. What did the 3 statues represent? They definitely did not possess such power in the past. Had they changed after being upgraded to ancient cards? The butterfly was surprised. Is this the power of a primordial realm expert? How can you be a primordial realm expert? Grand Elder Xiangu looked at the butterfly calmly. Why not? If it weren't for that, how could my clan have come to this universe? The butterfly flapped its wings less frequently, and the surrounding starry sky returned to normal. The light dissipated and it was very beautiful. Chapter 3178. You've surprised me. Since you're a primordial, I might not be able to do anything to you, but please reconsider. If I leave, Tianfa will replace me. Its power is focused on killing, and even a primordial would find it difficult to resist. If it attacks, the chances of your race surviving are slim. It is not afraid of any creature, nor will it negotiate with any creature. Elder Shangu looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin asked, "Is Tianfa stronger than you?" The butterfly said, "I'm Tianan and I represent the heavens." "It's Tianfa and I represent the heavens." Lu Yin frowned. "Dealing with the Lost Clan should be your business. Our above heaven sect didn't interfere, so why is Tianfa here?" The butterfly was surprised. "How do you know? Normally no one can understand us. Even your ancestors, we tried our best to avoid them. They might not understand us. The only ones who can understand us are creatures that don't belong to this universe but have come to this universe. You humans have such creatures?" Lu Yin's expression was natural. "I guessed." Even Great Elder Gu glanced at him. The butterfly was helpless. "Dao Lord Lu, please understand that expelling those who don't belong to this universe is a responsibility to our universe. If other universes travel to our universe as they please, it will bring unimaginable disasters." Lu Yin agreed. If the protectors of the 4 cardinal points were really doing their duty and not participating in the conflicts of the universe, then he had no reason to be hostile. Even if he protected Mr. Mu, Elder Shangu and the others, it wasn't hatred. But were they really not participating in the conflicts? At least for now, they were more inclined to believe the Eternals. Moreover, Lu Yuan and the others had said that the butterfly had come to the primordial space and brought disaster to the first continent. Afterwards, the progenitor ordered it to retreat. Lu Yin trusted the progenitor more. The fact that the progenitor ordered the butterfly to retreat meant that he didn't want it to stay in the first continent. Lu Yin would consider it from the progenitor's point of view. The butterfly's motives might not be as simple as it appeared. "It's a great duty and I will also protect your duty. Now the question is, who made this duty for you?" Lu Yin asked. Shangu stared at the butterfly and suddenly thought of his homeland, the omnipotent existence. It seemed like only an existence like that could assign duties to primordial realm experts. The butterfly slowly flapped its wings, sprinkling down radiance. "Dao Master Lu, when you reach our level, you will naturally understand the importance of protecting your own universe. We voluntarily joined forces to guard the 4 directions, all for the sake of expelling the life forms of other universes. It wasn't a duty set by anyone." Lu Yuan arrived. He rolled his eyes when he heard what Butterfly said. "I've reached the primordial realm too, so why don't I feel that way? I don't believe it and I can't believe it. Tianan, you keep saying that we humans have done you a favor, but you won't even tell us this?" "I'm telling the truth. Dao Master Lu, I really don't want you to face heaven's punishment. It's unreasonable. Once it comes, it won't do you any good." Butterfly said. Lu Yin nodded. "I've received your reminder. I still have the same question, why is Tianfa here? Expelling the Lost Clan should be your business. No matter whether you have the ability to expel them or not, you shouldn't let Tianfa do it for you." Butterfly denied. "If Tianfa can't do it for you, how can it be called Tianfa? Tianfa punishes on behalf of the heavens. The heavens refer to our universe, while Tianfa covers the entire universe. So, Dao Master Lu, I'll ask you one last time. Are you willing to let the Lost Clan leave this universe?" Grand Elder Shangu frowned. "We won't leave even if we die." His attitude had been passive before, whether it was the battle against the Eternals or the expulsion. He would rather die than implicate the above heaven sect. However, it was different now. Lu Yin actually had the ability to upgrade the Heavenly Emperor card. This was an opportunity for their clan to return to the peak. How could he give it up? Butterfly sighed. "Then I'm really sorry. Tianfa is coming. Everyone take care." With that, she flapped her wings and flew away. Grand Elder Shangu looked at Lu Yin. "Dao Master, Tianfa might not be so easy to deal with." Lu Yin pondered for a moment before ordering, "Take the Lost Clan away. Grand Elder, you can only face Tianfa alone. If we don't deal with you, Tianfa won't find the other Lost Clan members. They're not as valuable as you." Grand Elder Shangu was grateful. "Thank you, Dao Master." Butterfly's retreat did not mean that she could not defeat Grand Elder Shangu. In her words, she represented the heavens. If she encountered a primordial realm enemy, she would naturally be dealt with by Tianfa. After Butterfly left, the lost clan members were immediately taken away in secret. Apart from a limited number of people in the Above Heaven sect, no one else knew. Lu Yin remained in the lost clan's starry sky, waiting for Tianfa to arrive. He wanted to see just how powerful this so-called Tianfa was. Ancestor Lu Yuan naturally stayed behind as well. Not long after, Hongyan Mavis also came. The others wanted to come as well, but they were stopped by Lu Yin. This was not a war, so they could not interfere even if they came. Very soon, half a month passed. On this day, a blood-red liquid drifted through the starry sky. It was enough to drown 10 people. This drop of blood-red liquid traversed the void, disappearing and reappearing from time to time. It did not make any turns, heading straight for the Lost Clan's starry sky. It passed through all the other parallel universes along the way before finally arriving in the Lost Clan's starry sky. After arriving in the Lost Clan's starry sky, the blood-red liquid moved silently towards Grand Elder Shangu's location. Not long after, the blood-red light that floated in the starry sky suddenly expanded, covering the entire Lost Clan's starry sky in an instant. The Genesis space was connected to the Lost Clan's starry sky, and Jiao Feng sat in the indestructible mecha at the point of connection. He stared blankly at the blood-red light before him. What was going on? The entire Lost Clan's starry sky had turned blood-red. Lu Yin, Lu Yuan, Hongyan Mavis, and Grand Elder Shangu's expressions changed. Representing the heavens. The Lost Clan will be punished and exterminated. The blood-red liquid let out an endless murderous roar that reverberated through the entire starry sky, causing everyone who heard it to shiver. Lu Yin stared into the distance. Was that a ball of blood? Lu Yuan's expression sank. What arrogance! Hongyan Mavis clenched her fists. This feeling is not good. Grand Elder Shangu's expression turned ugly. He could sense the terror of Tianfa. The entire starry sky had been dyed blood-red, which was completely different from Butterfly's grace. This heavenly punishment only came to kill. Lu Yuan shouted, "Tianfa, is it? Your duty is to expel creatures that do not belong to this universe." Tianfa said the same thing, but you want to exterminate them? In the starry sky, the blood slowly moved towards them. Tianfa only comes to kill. Those who stand in our way will be killed without mercy. After that, a cold light rose from the soles of everyone's feet. Lu Yin and the others lowered their heads. Under the endless starry sky, rays of blades slashed from bottom to top, heading towards Grand Elder Shangu. Although Lu Yin and the others were within the range of the blades, they were not cut by the blades, but they had no doubt that once they attacked, these blades would also slash towards them. Grand Elder Shangu hurriedly took out the Heavenly King card, and 3 statues appeared, isolating the void and trying to block the blades. The endless blades slashed towards Grand Elder Shangu, but they were blocked by the 3 statues and were constantly offset. The surrounding void was constantly shattered, revealing the void world and spreading out. Lu Yin and the others could only retreat, hoping that Grand Elder Shangu could block Tianfa's blades. The blades were endless, and the power of the Heavenly King card was constantly being consumed. In desperation, one of the statues moved, slowly raising its hand and aiming at Tianfa. Grand Elder Shangu's mouth was bleeding. This was an attack that he should have been able to release, even if he did not draw the enemy into the card. This was something that only those who had reached his level in the Lost Clan could do. But that was referring to the previous Heavenly King card, which belonged to the Progenitor realm. At this moment, this card had reached the level of an ancient card, which was equivalent to using it while he was at a higher level. He would also have to bear serious consequences. The statue raised its hand and inexplicably, a huge palm seemed to appear in the starry sky, enveloping the entire starry sky. Lu Yin and the others saw it and were shocked. What kind of combat technique was this? Lu Yuan frowned. What an overbearing hand. Grand Elder Shangu slowly bowed. Xian, King of Heaven and Earth, please make your move. Xian Tian, indestructible hand. After that, the palm that enveloped the starry sky suddenly appeared, blocking the starry sky that was shrouded in blood, and grabbed towards Tianfa. Tianfa was a mass of blood-red liquid, and its expression could not be seen. When the Xian Tian indestructible hand grabbed it, under the starry sky, endless blades soared into the sky and slashed at the Xian Tian indestructible hand. The entire starry sky of the Lost Clan trembled. Where the origin space was connected, the people of the Limitless Empire were stunned. They saw the endless stars shatter, saw the blades replace the entire starry sky, and saw the huge hand that covered the entire starry sky. What kind of battle was this? As one of the pillars of the limitless empire, Jiao Feng believed that his 12-ring mecha was enough to fight against an expert of the sequence laws. Even in the entire above heavens he was a powerhouse who was one of the few. But at this moment he saw how insignificant he was. Did the above heavens have such an enemy? Thinking back, the above heavens had been too merciful in the battle of the limitless empire. If they had attacked the limitless empire, who would have been able to block it? The entire limitless empire would have been gone. The blades and the palm collided endlessly in the starry sky. Grand Elder Shangu's face paled. This was the attack of an ancient card that surpassed his level, and it was a 7-star card. Even among the primordial realm experts, it should be a relatively powerful attack, but Tianfa had blocked it with just the blades. The palm gradually dimmed, but the blades were still endless. In the end the palm shattered. Hongyan Mavis sighed. That hand is very powerful, but it's a pity that it only borrowed the power of the statue. It was a legacy left behind by a predecessor. If the owner of that hand was here, the result would be different. Lu Yuan sighed. I believe Shangu's words now. Their homeland does have absolute powerhouses and the owner of that hand is one of them. What a pity. Lu Yin looked at Shangu. Of the 3 statues, one had already used its attack, so it was useless. What about the other 2? Countless blades slashed toward Great Elder Shangu from all directions. Shangu spat out a mouthful of blood and bowed deeply to the other statue. Endless Warlord, please attack. Chapter 3179. The statue trembled and soon the entire starry sky became even redder. This was not from Tianfa but from the statue. Sounds of slaughter rang out, causing the countless blades to stop. Tianfa's blood-red liquid spun slowly as if it was afraid. Grand Elder Shangu's face paled and he struggled to hold on. It was too much for him to use the power of the 7-star ancient card, so he released the card's power. However, he could not draw Tianfa into the card, so he could only do this. He hoped that Endless War King could kill this powerful enemy. In his hometown, Endless War King had been dazzling in the final battle. He had fought until the very last moment, maintaining his charging posture even in the face of death. He would feel fear for that existence, but Endless War King was not. Endless War King's existence was born for slaughter, to pave a bloody path for the beings of that universe. Ancient powerhouses died one after another. Shangu did not wish to be killed while carrying the regrets of countless people in that universe. He wanted to live. He wanted to live until he reached that existence and struck him again, even if the price was the destruction of the entire lost clan. He would definitely live to see that day. The blood-red figure charged out of the statue. It was unclear, but the moment it appeared, it gave Lu Yin and the others an indescribable feeling of excitement. It was as if this person's appearance represented the most intense battlefield, the most primitive slaughter. The blood-red figure charged towards Tianfa fearlessly as if nothing could stop it. Slaughter style. The void froze and shattered as the blood-red figure swept past Tianfa. The blade was unstoppable, leaving a crack in Tianfa's blood-red liquid. Lu Yuan sighed. It's not a sequence law, or else it would not be able to approach the primordial realm. Just the will left behind in the statue is enough to unleash such killing power. This person was extremely powerful when he was alive. He was at least in the primordial realm. Hongyan Mavis sighed. It's a pity that we couldn't meet such a person. Lu Yin frowned. Such a person should have vanished in front of that existence as well. How was Tianfa? They all looked on. The blood-red figure dissipated, and the Emperor card flickered in and out of existence. Grand Elder Shangu could not hold on any longer. Tianfa's blood-red liquid gradually recovered, and then it was as if it had never been attacked. Under the starry sky, countless blades continued to slash towards Grand Elder Shangu. It was truly endless. Lu Yuan could not help but want to intervene. Great Elder Gu's attack alone was useless. You've resisted Heaven's law. As punishment you shall suffer the pain of 1,000,000 blades. Heaven's law's voice rang out. It was terrifyingly low. Although Great Elder Gu did not make a move himself, he was also in a difficult situation. Facing the heavenly punishment, if it was not for the upgrade of the card, he would not even have the strength to resist. Now that he thought about it, Butterfly Tianan was right. She had been very polite. As for Sky Law, it only represented slaughter. Greetings, Regent of the Third Stronghold. Please make your move. Grand Elder Dan Gu bowed deeply to the third statue. In an instant the Heavenly King card spun rapidly. Lu Yin and the rest widened their eyes. The order of their attacks should be more powerful than the previous one. Just how strong was this royal regent? At this moment the blade stopped once again. Clearly even divine punishment was concerned. Then Great Elder Dan Gu entered the Heavenly King card and disappeared. Heaven's Law was stunned for a moment, and a blood-red light suddenly fell and covered the entire sky. It wanted to force Great Elder Dan Gu out, but it discovered that Great Elder Dan Gu was not in this region of space. He must have been prepared, and the lost clan members were nowhere to be seen. Lu Yin was speechless. This was what they had discussed beforehand. If they could not defeat Heaven's Law, they would flee. However, he had been stunned just now, and he had been looking forward to seeing the royal regent make his move. Lu Yuan and Hongyan Mavis were disappointed that they had not seen it. Perhaps the royal regent could represent the top power of that universe. From the looks of it, this Heavenly King card was not as simple as it seemed. There might be a reason why the lost clan had been thrown into this universe by that universe, and the existence of those three statues might not be simple. Lu Yin had also thought of this. He felt that those three statues gave him a feeling of inheritance, and Great Elder Dan Gu gave him a similar feeling to Elder Chan. The card that had brought the lost clan to this universe was similar to this universe's burial ground. Ancestor, what level of strength do you think the Arcane King of Heaven and Earth and Endless War King are at? They can unleash such power without using the laws of the sequence, and they even use the statues to attack. Are they dead? Lu Yin was curious. Lu Yuan said, dead they might have died. As for their strength I'm not too sure, but they are at least in the primordial realm. Hongyan Mavis was puzzled. 3 primordial realms, but they left their power in a card? There must be a reason, Lu Yin guessed. I'm interested in that universe. Do you think we can go there? Not sure. First, we can't find the way. Second, that universe must have something similar to Heaven's Grace and Heaven's Law. Third, I don't dare to go, Lu Yin said bluntly. Hongyan Mavis also said, I don't dare either. Lu Yuan was embarrassed. I'm also a little scared, mainly because of that old man Dan Gu. Is there really such an existence? There should be. There must be. The three discussed, completely forgetting about Heaven's Law. Heaven's Law was silent for a moment before speaking. Heaven's Grace mentioned that you are from the human races above heaven. Lu Yin and the others looked at Heaven's Law. That's right. What advice do you have? Heaven's Law's voice was filled with cold, killing intent. What about the lost clan? I don't know, Lu Yin replied. Are you trying to stop me? We're just passing by, Hongyan Mavis said. Lu Yuan raised his brows. What, is this your path? You can't walk? Heaven's Law's blood-red color grew thicker. Those who stop Heaven's Law will also suffer Heaven's Law's punishment. Lu Yuan sneered and stepped forward. How bold, daring to threaten our above heaven. We're not stopping you, we're just watching the show. If you have evidence, then bring that butterfly and cause trouble for us. If not, then scram back to where you came from. We're from this universe through and through. Lu Yin continued, if you dare to threaten us again, don't blame us for being impolite. Hongyan Mavis's face sank. I think you're asking for a beating. Heaven's Law wasn't used to it. It had always been the one threatening others, and it hadn't expected to be threatened as soon as it spoke. Human, don't try to provoke the punishment of the heavens. You can't afford the price. Lu Yin threatened, don't try to provoke our above heaven. You can't afford the price either. Lu Yuan disdained, it's just a ball of liquid. Do you want to go to heaven? Sky Law was silent for a moment before she left. Before she left, she said, don't try to protect that clan. If I find out that your above heaven sect wants to protect the lost clan, the guardian of the 4 directions will kill all of you. After Heaven's Law left, the blood-red color in the lost clan's sky completely receded. Hongyan Mavis was afraid. This clan. It's very powerful. I shouldn't be able to beat it. Lu Yuan couldn't help it. You definitely can't beat it. The laws don't allow you to get close. Those endless blades will tear you apart. Hongyan Mavis was dissatisfied. It'll be different when I break through to the primordial realm. Lu Yin looked at Lu Yuan. Ancestor, can you beat it? Lu Yuan thought for a moment. I don't know. It hasn't completely exposed its strength. Lu Yin narrowed his eyes. This was the most troublesome. The everlasting race had thrown him a great enemy, and he didn't know the strength of the enemy at all. At the connection between the lost clan's sky and the primordial space, Jiao Feng breathed a sigh of relief. It had finally returned to normal. He wanted to see what had happened, but he didn't dare to. The mecha didn't give him a sense of security. This was something he had never felt before. Soon the abnormality in the lost clan's sky spread. Under the everlasting race's influence, the lost clan was abandoned by the Above Heaven sect, and the news of Shangu's escape quickly spread throughout the Six Directions Society. This was also the everlasting race's goal. Regardless of whether the guardian of the Four Directions Society would attack the Above Heaven sect, the lost clan would definitely be destroyed. Once the lost clan was destroyed, the Above Heaven sect's influence would instantly become a joke. The lost clan connected to the Above Heaven sect couldn't be saved, and one of the 6 lords of the 3 sons, Grand Elder Shangu, had been abandoned by the Above Heaven sect. What would the others think? As time passed, more and more people learned about this matter. Many people didn't believe that the lost clan was in trouble and deliberately went to the lost clan's sky, but they didn't find a single lost clan member. Although the news spread more and more, after the previous lesson, even some meddlesome people didn't dare to casually slander the Above Heaven sect. They just watched the situation develop. Not long after, Grand Elder Shangu appeared and openly came to the Above Heaven sect. Although he only stayed for a short time, it was enough to shut everyone up. Grand Elder Shangu hadn't been abandoned by the Above Heaven sect. Otherwise, why would he come? Why would the Above Heaven sect let him enter? No matter how one looked at it, Grand Elder Shangu's relationship with the Above Heaven sect was extremely good. 3 days after Grand Elder Shangu left, divine punishment came to the Above Heaven sect. The starry sky of the origin space was directly covered in blood, but then a golden radiance spread and dispersed the blood. It was the radiance of the God Sealing Catalog. Ancestor Lu Yuan took action. The Above Heaven sect harbored a sinner and should be punished by the heavens. Divine punishment's voice came, but Ancestor Lu Yuan blocked it. Apart from a limited number of people, no one else could hear it. Ancestor Lu Yuan sneered. Which eye of yours saw us harboring a sinner? Speak. Divine punishment's voice was low. That person is called Shangu. He came to the Above Heaven sect. You say we're harboring a sinner just because he came? Didn't you come too? There are so many people who come to our Above Heaven sect every day. What do I have to report to you one by one? Ancestor Lu Yuan sneered. Divine punishment paused for a moment, and an invisible killing intent spread out. Then it exploded. Blades appeared under the starry sky and pointed at Ancestor Lu Yuan. Ancestor Lu Yuan's face turned cold. You dared to attack our Above Heaven sect. To us you're also a sinner. Your Above Heaven sect should be punished by the heavens. Nonsense, take out the evidence. Do you think our Above Heaven sect is easy to provoke? After a moment of stalemate, divine punishment left. It didn't fear the Above Heaven sect, but it wouldn't be easy to take them down. Ancestor Lu Yuan returned to the Above Heaven sect. Lu Yin stood at the back of the mountain and watched. It really wants to attack. Patriarch Lu Yuan said, I can tell, but it has its misgivings as well. That butterfly said something about her representing the heavens and that heavenly punishment is representing the heavens. I think she wants heavenly punishment to take action while she hides behind. Chapter 3180. Lu Yin also felt that the protectors of the 4 directions might not be as they seemed. Butterfly had sought out Lightning Master Jiang Feng and wanted him to receive heaven's grace, but he had rejected her. If the protectors of the 4 directions only had this duty, there was no need for them to bestow favors on anyone. In Lu Yin's opinion, this favor was a form of roping them in. They were living creatures with intelligence, so there was a conflict of interest. As long as there was a conflict of interest, this matter would be easy to handle. A few days later, rumors of the lost clan being chased by enemies and the heavenly sect not willing to help spread. This was also the work of the Eternals. This time they were telling the truth. The lost clan was indeed being chased by powerhouses and the heavenly sect could not help. However, when Great Elder Shangu reappeared in the heavenly sect, the rumors disappeared again. Regardless of whether the rumors were true or false, the fact that Great Elder Shangu was still alive and the heavenly sect did not have any abnormalities was enough. This time, less than 2 days after Great Elder Shangu left, Tianfa arrived and was chased away by Patriarch Lu Yuan once again. Soon after, Great Elder Dan Gu appeared again. Heavenly punishment arrived a day after his appearance and they were getting closer and closer. Lu Yin did not know how Tianfa could track Great Elder Shan Gu. He only knew that if this continued, Great Elder Shan Gu would be caught sooner or later. When Tianfa came to the Genesis space for the fourth time to track Great Elder Shan Gu, Great Elder Shan Gu had only left for less than 10 hours. This time, Patriarch Lu Yuan attacked without hesitation. I think you don't put our heavenly sect in your eyes. You come and go as you please. Where do you think we are? Back then, Lu Yuan's strength had forced Di Qiong to retreat, and Di Qiong had not dared to fight back. This was the strength that the Lu clan was proud of. In the entire Genesis space, only the Mavis family could compare to it. Under the starry sky, countless blades slashed at Lu Yuan, but they were all shattered by his slap. He was shocked by the strength of the Heavenly King's statue, but that did not mean that he was weaker than the statue. He was just surprised that he did not belong to this universe. The blade was shattered by Patriarch Lu Yuan. Just like the blood-red humanoid form of Endless War King, he charged towards Sky Punishment. Heavenly Punishment was a blood-red liquid, and Lu Yuan had long wanted to see what it was. However, this slap suddenly stopped. Lu Yuan felt as if his entire body was caught in a rope that he could not break free from. Everywhere, even in the endless void, there was an inexplicable strength that bound him. Even with his strength, he was unable to break free. The blade slashed from bottom to top. Lu Yin clenched his fists. Hongyan Mavis' voice rang in his ears. Don't worry, you don't understand Fertile Earth's strength. He, more than anyone else, needs to be evenly matched, even facing death in battle. Lu Yin did not understand. What do you mean? Just watch. Hongyan Mavis gazed at the sky. It's been a long time since I've seen fertile soil yearn for a battle so much. The primordial realm has given him another opportunity. In the starry sky, the sabers all slashed towards Patriarch Lu Yuan. A general appointment platform appeared beneath Patriarch Lu Yuan. He stood in it and allowed the sabers to slash at him, producing clashing sounds. The general appointment platform remained unharmed. Lu Yin found it strange. He had never seen Patriarch Lu Yuan summon or use ascendants to fight. Was there no need or was there no need? The general appointment platform enveloped Patriarch Lu Yuan, allowing the sabers to slash at him without moving. The sabers were endless, just like when Heavenly Punishment attacked Elder Shan Gu. Even the Heavenly Emperor card could not withstand it, forcing Elder Shan Gu to take the initiative to fight for a chance of victory. Unfortunately, he failed. Patriarch Lu Yuan was also watching. He did not believe that the sabers were endless. His battle with Heavenly Punishment was actually to buy time for Elder Shan Gu. Otherwise, Heavenly Punishment would have found him very quickly. Does the Above Heaven sect want to become enemies with the protectors of the Four Directions? Heavenly Punishment's voice was cold and murderous. Lu Yuan sneered. What a joke. You've come to the Above Heaven sect several times to show off your strength. The Eternals sent you, right? Now the humans are saying that the Above Heaven sect's edict is a joke and that the Eternals found a random expert to suppress us. You're the expert that the Eternals found. You're working with the Eternals to crush the will of the humans. Even if we have to fight to the last man, we won't beg for mercy. Heavenly Punishment's voice grew deeper. Heavenly Punishment is punishment on behalf of the heavens. It has nothing to do with the Eternals. You know very well that we're easy to trick. Don't think that you can leave so easily today. What protectors of the Four Directions? I think you're in cahoots with the Eternals. It's just a name change. Come. Lu Yuan bellowed as a terrifying power gushed out from him, tearing apart the firmament of the universe. This power made Lu Yin's eyelids twitch. It was bigger than him and the Patriarch's power was even greater than his. As expected of the Patriarch. But what about the ancestral world? What about the sequence laws? Why had he never seen the Patriarch use them? A part of the universe was torn apart as if he had broken free of something. Lu Yuan stepped out of the general appointment platform and smashed through the endless sabers. He charged towards Heavenly Punishment with an unparalleled momentum, as if he wanted to tear Heavenly Punishment to shreds. Heavenly Punishment faced Lu Yuan, and his voice was terrifyingly low. As expected of the 6 paths of the 3 realms. You broke the earthen blade. Next I will punish you on behalf of the heavens, Heavenly Spear. As soon as he finished speaking, A spear slowly condensed in front of him. It moved at an extremely slow speed. Logically speaking, the moment the spear formed, Lu Yuan would have already charged over. However, not only did Lu Yuan fail to do so, but he also seemed to be standing in place. He wanted to charge forward, but he couldn't move at all. His expression changed. The power of time. Use time as a chain to trap me. The earthen blade uses the void as a chain. The heavenly spear uses time as a chain. You can't escape. This is your punishment for resisting the punishment of the heavens. If you don't die, I hope you'll remember this lesson. With that, the spear condensed and stabbed towards Lu Yuan. Lu Yin took a step forward and was about to attack, but Hongyan Mavis pulled him back. Don't be hasty. The fertile earth won't be defeated so easily. The spear wasn't fast and even ordinary people could see it clearly. However, Lu Yuan couldn't avoid it. At his level, he could easily step into the power of time. Time and space weren't enough to trap him. However, it wasn't time that was trapping him. It was time. Time cannot be reversed. Hongyan Mavis was apprehensive. Time was a kind of power and time was a kind of result. When one was trapped by time, even if one broke free of time, the result wouldn't change. During the trip to the Mirage Domain, Fenghua hadn't dared to jump into the river of time even at the brink of his death. If he did, the trap of time would be far more terrifying than death. This spear contained enough power that even divine punishment was confident that it could kill Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan didn't panic in the face of this attack. Instead, he closed his eyes as if he didn't even plan on resisting. Lu Yin trusted both Hongyan Mavis and Lu Yuan, but no matter how he looked at it, this spear didn't seem weak at all. What was the ancestor trying to do? Just as the spear was about to pierce Lu Yuan, the divine seal catalog suddenly appeared and swept the spear away from the side. Divine punishment didn't say a word and simply disappeared, leaving the Genesis space. Lu Yin relaxed. The ancestor was fine. Hongyan Mavis was puzzled. Why was this happening? Not many people had seen the battle between Lu Yuan and divine punishment, as it had only been to delay Elder Shan Gu's escape. When Lu Yuan returned to the above sky sect, Hongyan Mavis was puzzled. Why didn't you take that spear? Lu Yin didn't understand. Take it? Normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Lu Yuan replied, it's not the right time. What's wrong, ancestor? Lu Yin asked. Lu Yuan looked at Lu Yin. Little seven, do you think that the divine seal catalog is my innate gift? Lu Yin was stunned and thought about it. There are currently 2 known types of innate gifts. The first type can't be inherited by bloodline. Perhaps our ancestors never had such an innate gift, so it's a self-awakened gift. The second type can be inherited by bloodline. Many people have been researching the second type, but they haven't been able to figure it out. How can an innate gift be inherited? Lu Yuan nodded. That's right, how can an innate gift be inherited? This involves the most primitive mysteries of a creature's birth, and I can't give you an answer. However, all innate gifts that can be inherited have one thing in common. Almost all of them come from the same family. Even if they've declined, they still have a glorious past. Lu Yin nodded. The source of an inherited innate gift must have given birth to a powerhouse, and not just any powerhouse. At the very least, they must have reached the level of a law sequence and touched upon the mysteries of this universe. My Lu family's innate gift was created by me. My ancestral world is called the Fertile Realm, and it doesn't have any offensive or defensive abilities. When it was first born, it didn't help me at all and I was ridiculed by a bunch of people. Hongyan Mavis continued, of course you were ridiculed. Your behavior was the worst back then, and when the news spread that your ancestral world couldn't help you, the ones who laughed the loudest were Shening and Zumang. Zumang was rolling on the ground laughing. Lu Yuan sneered, laugh all you want. I was very angry back then, and the louder they laughed, the angrier I got. Only Master praised my ancestral world for being unique and that something incredible might appear in the future. Because of Master's encouragement, I cultivated all the way until I reached the level of a law sequence. My law sequence is growth. Lu Yin was confused. Growth? Lu Yuan clasped his hands behind his back. No matter how you look at it, growth is a useless law sequence. However, for some reason, no matter how much I tried to get closer to strength or destructive power, the law sequence I comprehended was still growth. I couldn't get rid of it even in my dreams. Because of this law sequence, I was ridiculed again. Hongyan Mavis glanced at him. It was laughter, not ridicule. We were also worried about you back then. Logically speaking, with your personality, how could you possibly comprehend such a gentle law sequence like growth? I was more like it. But you did. At the time it was an unsolvable mystery. Zi told us in private that you had a lot of maternal love. Lu Yuan's eyes widened in anger. What did you say? Hongyan Mavis laughed. It wasn't me, it was Zi. Chapter 3181. Lu Yuan gritted his teeth. That black bastard dared to say that about me. How come I didn't know about it? Hongyan Mavis rolled her eyes. Who would dare to tell you? If I did, wouldn't the world be turned upside down by you? Don't you think that Blackie has been hiding from you for a while? Lu Yuan trembled with anger. That black bastard. I knew that bastard was two-faced and had a venomous tongue, but he still pretended to be obedient. If you have the ability, say it to my face. That wretched person, when I see him again I'll tear his mouth apart. Lu Yin was speechless as he recalled the words on the floor of the wooden house in the Mirage domain. It seemed that everyone knew about the Grim Reaper's characteristics and his mouth was really venomous. He had initially thought that the Grim Reaper was an unsmiling and ruthless person who could suppress astral beasts with his own strength. Now, however, that image of the Grim Reaper had collapsed in his heart. The Grand Empyrean seemed to have thought so as well. Even when Lu Yuan told her that the Grim Reaper was going to attack her from behind, she still hadn't believed it. The Grim Reaper was too good at pretending. Lu Yuan finally caught his breath. Just wait. I don't believe that bastard will die so easily. He'll definitely appear, and when that time comes I'll tear his mouth apart. Just wait. What's next, forefather? Lu Yin asked. Every person's cultivation path could give Lu Yin inspiration, especially someone like Lu Yuan who was a powerhouse of the 3 realms and 6 Daos. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's ancestral world and sequence laws were inexplicable and did not match his personality. This allowed Lu Yin to see another side of comprehending sequence laws. It seemed that the comprehension of sequence laws did not necessarily go according to one's wishes. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. The fertile realm's ancestral world grows with sequence laws. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't seem to be good at attacking. I thought about it for a long time, and in the end I connected the sequence laws to the fertile realm. Then something strange happened that made those fellows unable to laugh. He looked at Lu Yin solemnly. I planted the Divine Seal Catalog. Lu Yin was stunned and suspected that he had heard wrong. You didn't hear wrong. I really did plant the God Seal Catalog, Patriarch Lu Yuan repeated. Lu Yin blinked. Innate gifts can be grown? Patriarch Lu Yuan looked at Lu Yin's expression in amusement. We've always been shocked by your cultivation and progress. I never thought that there would be a day when you would be surprised. Hongyan Mavis said, at that time we had the same expression as you. Can talent be cultivated? Master was in seclusion at that time. When he came out of seclusion and heard about this, he was also surprised, but not too surprised. Master seemed to have guessed that this might happen. Patriarch Lu Yuan sighed. I also didn't expect that I would plant the God Sealing Catalog one day. My Lu family originally had some general platform talent. After this talent was passed down, I learned that there were experts in the origins of our bloodline even earlier. Since I was able to plant the God Sealing Catalog, perhaps the general platform was also man-made because it can be passed down. I hope to compare myself to the ancestor of the unknown bloodline so that the God Sealing Catalog could be passed down. But you know the result. My son was forced to his death by me, and in the end I even forced out Madman Lu. At that time, everyone said that it was impossible for the God Sealing Catalog to be passed down. Because of this obsession I killed my son. Hongyan Mavis consoled, gossip is a fearful thing. Sometimes, some words are even more destructive than a powerful innate gift. That wasn't spread by Chuhai, was it? Patriarch Lu Yuan suddenly thought of something and glared at Hongyan Mavis. Hongyan Mavis frowned. Chuhai only has a cheap mouth. But Chuhai has never thought of harming anyone, and it's impossible for him to ridicule and slander you. Fertile Earth, don't you trust him? Patriarch Lu Yuan sighed. Sorry, I was overthinking it. Lu Yin also did not believe that the Grim Reaper would slander Patriarch Lu Yuan. This had nothing to do with a cheap mouth. It was clearly jealousy and ridicule. With the Grim Reaper's strength, how could he possibly be jealous of Patriarch Lu Yuan? He might even be stronger than the Patriarch. Madman Lu awakened the God Sealing Catalog. I know that I did it, and I did indeed plant an innate gift that can be passed down. It came from the fertile earth realm and the laws of the sequence. However, I've already reached the limit. It's impossible to plant anything else in the fertile earth realm. This is what Master said. But there's a prerequisite, and that is that I'll always remain in the progenitor realm. Patriarch Lu Yuan was excited. Now that I've broken through the progenitor realm and reached the primordial realm, the fertile earth realm has transformed once more. He looked at Lu Yin with shining eyes. Little Seven, I can still plant something else. Lu Yin felt that there was something wrong with these words, but he was inexplicably excited. He had managed to plant the God Sealing Catalog when he broke through the progenitor realm. Now that he was in the primordial realm, what could he plant? Could a third innate gift appear in the Lu family's bloodline? Lu Yin understood after hearing the patriarch's words. So, Patriarch, you want to face life and death and see what you can plant in the fertile earth realm? Patriarch Lu Yuan said, there are too few primordial realm enemies. If I don't face life and death, how can I plant something powerful? If I can plant an innate gift that surpasses the God Sealing Catalog, my Lu family will truly be invincible in the future. Then why did you give up? Hongyan Mavis did not understand. Lu Yin did not understand either. Patriarch Lu Yuan thought about it and looked at Lu Yin. I don't know what you want. Lu Yin's body shook as he stared at the patriarch in a daze. Hongyan Mavis stared at Patriarch Lu Yuan in a daze before looking at Lu Yin again. She nodded, that's true. With that she left. Patriarch Lu Yuan chased after her in a hurry. Kaihong, wait, tell me, what else did you say about me behind my back? Especially Chuhiai. Lu Yin stood where he was and smiled as he watched the patriarch and the others leave. Was Cultivation lonely? It was never lonely. During Lu Xiaoshuan's era, he had the Lu family's protection. He was the noble young master of the starry sky tree. The 7 heroes had died for him. That was a bond of blood, the most sincere friendship in the world. Although he had gone through many hardships during Lu Yin's era, he had also gained friendship, love, family, and everything else. He really did not lack anything. In the entire Genesis space, or even the Hexagon Association, and even the entire human race, how many people acknowledged him? He really was not lonely. Giving was a very foolish thing to do in the cultivation world. Sacrificing himself for the bigger picture was equally foolish. But for these people, Lu Yin was willing to do it. Whether it was the Lu family or the entire human race, there were too many people who protected him openly and secretly. He would protect them until the end. Tianfa would not let Great Elder Shan go off and continued to pursue him. Butterfly Tianan had also come to the Celestial Sect once and solemnly warned them not to help Shan Gu escape. However, Patriarch Lu Yuan scolded him and said that the Celestial Sect had never helped the Lost Clan. The protectors of the 4 directions were useless and they blamed them for not being able to capture the Lost Clan. Butterfly Tianan had no choice but to leave. No matter how unfavorable the rumors were to the Celestial Sect, Great Elder Shan Gu would always appear at the crucial moment to destroy them. The Lost Clan and the Celestial Sect had always had a good relationship. On this day, Tai Bai Jinxing came to the Celestial Sect and requested to see Lu Yin. Lu Yin was surprised. Tai Bai Jinxing had agreed to join the Celestial Sect because she wanted to protect her hometown. After joining, she had stayed in the sect for a while before going to the Starfall Sea. She had never participated in the Celestial Sect's external affairs unless the Everlasting Race invaded the Starfall Sea. Why was she here? Lu Yin received Tai Bai Jinxing. Tai Bai Jinxing was still indifferent. Greetings, Headmaster. Lu Yin grunted. Why are you here? Tai Bai Jinxing raised her hand, revealing a cosmic ring and a drop of blood. There was a line revolving around the drop of blood. Someone handed this to me, but I can't open it. I think that person wants to borrow my hand to hand it to you, Headmaster. Lu Yin took the cosmic ring and at the same time he took the blood that was being protected by the revolving line. Looking at the line reminded him of someone. He Wuxian. When He Wuxian attacked, he used the line to trap the enemy. Lu Yin used a bit of force, but he was unable to crush the line. He continued to increase his strength and with a final sound the line shattered. No wonder Tai Bai Jinxing couldn't open it. Lu Yin had used enough strength to surpass an ordinary progenitor. With Tai Bai Jinxing's strength, it was impossible for her to open it. He used the blood to open the cosmic ring and there was only one thing inside. A stargate. It was another stargate, but where did it lead to this time? I'll take my leave. Tai Bai Jinxing bowed. Lu Yin looked at her. Has Luo Shan come looking for you recently? Tai Bai Jinxing paused. Yes. Lu Yin had only been asking casually, but he hadn't expected Luo Shan to really come looking for Tai Bai Jinxing. That guy had deep feelings for her. He just wanted to talk to me. Nothing else. I asked him and he said that he's not a spy. Lu Yin looked at her. Do you believe that? She looked at him. I do. Lu Yin didn't say anything. She continued, Luo Shan has a strong sense of purpose and doesn't have any compassion. He can kill anyone and take their life, but it's precisely because he has a strong sense of purpose that he knows what he wants. What he wants is to dominate the human race, not survive with a bunch of monsters. If the human race loses to the Eternals, he can either become a corpse king or live alone. To him that's more painful than death, so he can't be a spy. There's one more thing. Tai Bai Jinxing hesitated. He's never lied to me. Lu Yin wasn't interested in the relationship between Luo Shan and Tai Bai Jinxing. Where's he? Although Elder Chan, Wuxia and the 9th grade Lotus Venerable had been wronged in the list of spies of the Eternals, Wu Hen was indeed a spy. Who could guarantee that Luo Shan was not? Luo Shan hadn't appeared again after that time. Tai Bai Jinxing shook her head. He didn't tell me. He's never lied to you? Lu Yin was suspicious. He doesn't lie to me, but he also doesn't tell me. He's on guard against anyone, including me. Lu Yin didn't know how to describe Luo Shan. Wasn't he tired of living like this? But perhaps it was precisely because of this that he had been able to survive until now. He and De Heng had betrayed their master and were selfish. This person couldn't be trusted, but it was also unlikely that he was a spy. If you see Luo Shan again, tell him that I'll give him a chance to prove his innocence, provided that he appears, Lu Yin said. Chapter 3182. After Tai Bai Jinxing left, Lu Yin looked at the astral gate in front of him. Who gave it to him? What was behind the astral gate? He wasn't afraid of an ambush from the Eternals. The Eternals only had Patriarch Shi and Patriarch Lu Hao. If he went to the other side of the astral gate, he would definitely bring Patriarch Lu Yuan with him. The Eternals wouldn't be able to kill him. The most likely enemy was the human spy who had been hiding among the Eternals. Hui Wu was only one of them. There had always been a spy among the 7 sky gods. Mr. Mu was certain of this, and it was because of this spy's reminder that they could deal with the Eternals. This was especially true when they tried to kill the sorcerer god. If not for the spy's reminder, they wouldn't have known that the sorcerer god was hiding in Victor's body. They wouldn't have been able to kill him. Could it be the spy? Lu Yin invited Patriarch Lu Yuan and stepped through the astral gate with him. The moment they stepped out, they saw a dark starry sky. Far away they could vaguely see a huge object. Lu Yin looked into the distance and his pupils shrank. Was that Xuang? He had seen Xuang when he was fishing in the River of Time. After that, he had merged with the Elder God's body and gained some understanding of Xuang. Xuang's poison was always a threat to humans. Once the Eternals extracted too much Xuang's poison, even sequence law powerhouses wouldn't be able to withstand it. Lu Yin wanted the poison of time to neutralize the Ice Master, Moon Immortal and the others, but he didn't have the chance. He hadn't expected this astral gate to connect to the parallel universe where Xuang was located. Someone appeared in another direction and slowly approached. Lu Yin and Lu Yuan looked at the newcomer and their expressions changed. It really is you. The person who appeared in front of them was Black Wuxian. 3 pitch-black lines rotated in Black Wuxian's eyes as he looked at Lu Yin and Lu Yuan. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Lu Yin looked at Black Wuxian. Who are you? Black Wuxian looked at Lu Yin. You don't need to know who I am. I don't belong to your universe. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to fool the one true God. Lu Yin was shocked. You're not from our universe? You don't need to know where I come from, and there's no need to know. Do you know the one in the distance? Black Wuxian pointed. Lu Yin said, Xuang. Black Wuxian was surprised. You know, why did you bring us here? If Su Wang is here, it'll be easy for the Eternals to discover him. Hey, Wuxian said, it's not easy because I'm the one who collected the unreal poison. Lu Yin's eyes flashed as he stared at Black Wuxian. So, the 5 spirit tribes and the March Alliance's defeat was caused by you? How many years has it been? I've been collecting illusory saliva, but I've only given a small amount to the Eternals each time. I've told everyone that I've never collected much. Even so, after so many years, the Eternals used up all of the illusory poison in one fell swoop, dealing a heavy blow to the 5 spirit tribes and the 3 Moon Alliance. There was nothing I could do. If I hadn't kept most of the illusory poison for myself, the 5 spirit tribes and the 3 Moon Alliance wouldn't have been the only ones defeated. You and White Cloud City would have been the same. As he spoke, he took out a black liquid from his cosmic ring. This illusory poison is at least 10 times more than what the Eternals used to heavily injure the 5 spirit tribes and the March Alliance. Lu Yin nodded. If that's the case, why didn't you tell us beforehand that the Eternals were going to attack them? He Wuxian's tone was calm. My existence cannot be exposed unless it is a matter of life and death. Insignificant 5 spirit clans and the March Alliance can't change the overall situation. Then what are we doing now? Lu Yin asked. He Wuxian said, illusory poison doesn't belong to this universe. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. You want to use illusory poison to divert the attention of the protectors of the 4 directions? He Wuxian gazed into the distance. If it weren't for the appearance of the protectors of the 4 directions, I still wouldn't have been exposed. The 4 of them are enough to keep your above the heavens busy. If you really want to protect the Lost Clan and wage a war against the protectors of the 4 directions, the outcome will be difficult to predict. After all, your opponents are 4 primordial realm experts. Even if you give up on the Lost Clan and disregard your reputation, the Eternals will still have ways to guide the protectors of the 4 directions to make things difficult for your above the heavens. Not to mention, the protectors of the 4 directions have always been biased towards the Eternals. You don't need to doubt this. As long as they have the chance, those 4 will completely destroy your above the heavens. Lu Yuan was confused. Why is that? He Wuxian said, in their eyes the Eternals have an easier time maintaining the stability of this universe. Humans, on the other hand, have too many variables. How do you think the first continent was destroyed during the first battle of the Divine Commandment? Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed. The protectors of the 4 directions? He Wuxian said, although I didn't see it with my own eyes, your above the heavens progenitor was unable to prevent the destruction of the first continent. It should be related to the protectors of the 4 directions. 4 primordial realm experts against 1 progenitor. It should be possible. Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with heavy killing intent. So that was the case. Lu Yin had never thought that the protectors of the 4 directions would be related to the destruction of the above the heavens. If that was really the case, then these 4 had to be eliminated. To them, the Eternals and humans don't matter. They will help whoever is stable and they will destroy whoever is the most variable. This is their principle, said He Wuxian. After that he looked at Lu Yin. I've come to you to tell you 2 things. First, the antidote for illusory poison is the poison of time. You have to find a way to find it. Second, the Eternals plan on pushing illusory poison into the primordial space. Lu Yin's expression changed. Originally, they were going to do it after the 5 spirit clans and the March Alliance were defeated. However, they didn't expect you to invade the zone of calamity first. Actually, it doesn't matter. The Eternals guessed that you would invade the zone of calamity, and they were prepared to end the battle in a draw. They were even prepared to sacrifice something in exchange for the smooth execution of the plan to push illusory poison into the primordial space after that battle. However, the Grand Empyrean messed up the plan and used the 6 paths of reincarnation to seal the only true God. That was why the plan failed. Since there was such a plan, why didn't you tell us? This concerns the survival of the human race, asked Lu Yin. He Wuxian said, I don't know. You're certain that the 7 gods' heavens are helping the human race and the Eternals guessed the same. That's why there are many things that I don't know. The others might not know either. The only ones who truly know are the predecessor, the ancient god, and Bai Wuxian. He then looked at Lu Yin. I had many opportunities to kill you, but I gave you the chance to escape. You should be able to tell. Lu Yin sighed. Where can I find the poison of time? He Wuxian shook his head. I don't know. I'll tell you everything that I can, but there are some things that I won't help you with. I'm not doing this for you but for myself. I have my own plans, and if this matter wasn't so troublesome, I wouldn't have appeared. I also hope that you won't expose my existence. We don't have much time. If you have any questions, hurry up and ask. Lu Yin had long since known that the poison of time was the antidote to the poison of falsehood, but he couldn't find the poison of time. Aside from the time, there was one other thing that could neutralize the poison of falsehood, and that was the fog within the mirage. That was the fog of time, and its effects were probably even better than the poison of time. However, not being able to enter the mirage was even more of a problem. Does the Eternals have a way to enter the mirage? Asked Lu Yin. He Wuxian was puzzled. Why are you asking about the mirage? There used to be a way to enter, but not anymore. The method is very simple. You just have to tear through the void and crush a signpost. The signpost comes from the mirage, and the dust will automatically enter the mirage's space-time. You just have to follow the dust in. Is that simple? Lu Yin was shocked. He Wuxian replied, it's not that simple. The stones are very difficult to find. Some are real and some are fake. Lu Yin was puzzled. Aren't the stones a map that points to the mirage? No. What do you mean by real and fake? The mirage is a mystical place. Legend has it that the Qing Luo sword saint broke through to the primordial realm in the mirage, which attracted countless people who wanted to enter and fight over the stones. Because of this, a large number of fake stones appeared during that era. They were as hard as real stones, but they couldn't enter the mirage. As a result, no one was able to find real stones after that. Even the Eternals had a hard time finding them. Lu Yin frowned. He had 2 stones on him. He originally had 3, but he had given one to Mr. Daheng. He had thought that the stones needed to form a diagram to enter the mirage, and if he had known this earlier he would not have given it away. However, Mr. Daheng clearly did not know about this method, or he would have tried it long ago. Sometimes, although the method was simple, it was very difficult to think of. How do you differentiate between real and fake stones? Lu Yin asked. He could not just crush the stones one by one to test it out. Entering the mirage required finding the right time, and it could not be done randomly. He Wuxian was surprised. It seems like you have a stone. Yes. Lu Yin did not hide it. He Wuxian said, very few people know how to differentiate real stones from fake ones, but you're lucky that I can do it. I'm one of the few people who have entered the mirage before. Out of the Eternals' 10 or so top experts, less than half of them have entered the mirage. He then took something out of his cosmic ring and tossed it to Lu Yin. Lu Yin caught it and saw that it was a square-shaped crystal. There's a speck of dust inside. When I first entered the mirage, I caught it when the stone was crushed into dust. Not everything in the mirage can be used as a signpost, and it's very difficult to find one. Rely on this speck of dust to get close to the stones you have. If you can trigger this speck of dust, then it's real. Lu Yin was delighted. Thank you. There's no need to thank me. Hongyan Mavis' appearance allowed the Eternals to know that you've been to the mirage, so there's no need for me to remind you of some things that you shouldn't go to. However, as someone who has been there before, I still have to say that time is not omnipotent. There are some realms that you can't reach even if you have an eternal life. The time you spend in the mirage is just not connected to the river of time that we exist in, but it doesn't mean that there isn't any flow of time. The one true God once said that there should be a river of time that exists above all of our knowledge. The river of time in the mirage represents our universe, or perhaps even more universes. The river of time represents all living things, and the universe that exists since the birth of the universe. The universe here does not refer to our universe, but rather the multiverse that encompasses the myriad worlds. The time you spend in the mirage will always exist in the river of time because you will never be able to escape from time. Chapter 3183. This was the first time Lu Yin had heard of such a theory. While he had been fishing in the river of time, he had also thought about it. Since he had made progress in the mirage domain, how could time not exist? But now it seemed that everything was related to time. It was just that he had not been able to reach a higher level of time. Lu Yin remembered Black Wuxian's reminder. One more question. When you went to the mirage, was Fengbo there? He Wuxian said, the mirage domain isn't small. If you have the ability, you can travel all over the mirage domain. If you don't, you can only wander around a limited area. If there's a river, there's a shore. The shore is divided into 2 sides. When I went there, I didn't see Fengbo. It was no wonder why the Eternals hadn't helped Fengbo deal with Hongyan Mavis. If there had been another powerhouse from the 7 sky gods, how could Hongyan Mavis have survived until now? Time's up. I have to go. We'll talk again when we have the chance. He Wuxian was about to leave. Lu Yin was worried. If we let Grand Elder Shan Gu come here, won't the Eternals know that you're the one who leaked the location to us? He Wuxian tore through the void and stepped out. I'm not the only one who knows about this place. After saying that, his body disappeared. Lu Yin and Lu Yuan stared at the empty space in front of them. Do you believe it? Lu Yuan asked. Lu Yin pondered for a moment. There's nothing to be suspicious about. At the very least, everything he said so far matches what I know. Plus, he's spared me many times, giving me 100,000 years to warn him about the Eternal's plan and the situation in the Mirage domain. Even if he's pretending to approach us, there's no need for him to tell us anything. Lu Yuan sighed with emotion. In the past I had already guessed that we had people in the Seven Gods' heavens, but I never thought that it would be him. It's time for Great Elder Dangu to calm down, Lu Yin said softly as he looked at the distant behemoth. The astral gate floated in the void and Great Elder Dangu rushed out of it. When he saw the enormous Su Wang in the distance, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Lu Yin had warned him that Su Wang could crush out a void world with just a flip of its body. Not to mention Great Elder Gu, even Lu Yuan and Hongyan Mavis were shocked by his words. Both of them were famous for their strength and they were very clear about how much strength was needed to strike out the world of nothingness. Progenitor realm experts might not be able to strike out a world of nothingness, but Huang could do so with a flip of its body. This meant that the power contained within its body was terrifying to the point of making one's hair stand on end. Once such an existence made a move, what would happen? Lu Yuan guessed that if illusory were a normal creature, its destructive power would be no weaker than a primordial realm expert. Lu Yin's warning kept popping up in his mind, and Great Elder Dangu did not dare to approach Su Wang. Not only could Su Wang release a void world with a flip of its body, but it could also devour energy. This was the source of Su Wang's poison, and any creature that approached it would lose their energy. Great Elder Dangu did not want to approach Su Wang for the time being. Very quickly a few days passed and Tianfa finally caught up to them. Tianfa had not used the astral gate and it was impossible for her to do so. The astral gate was with Lu Yin. Through some unknown means, it had found the location of Great Elder Shangu and chased after him. Previously he had been able to easily track down Great Elder Shangu's location. The closer he got to Great Elder Shangu, the more Great Elder Shangu got into a fight with old ancestor Lu Yuan in the Above Heaven sect, causing Great Elder Shangu to flee far away. The moment divine punishment appeared, Great Elder Shangu rushed towards Su Wang. He did not use his real body but his mecha. This mecha came from the Limitless Empire. It was one of the few mecha that didn't use ring energy to fight. It was an experimental mecha for the Limitless Empire Academy. Now this mecha was finally put to good use. The mecha was very fast and it was at least as fast as a half progenitor. It had been remodeled by the Limitless Empire before they had set off, and its control method had nothing to do with ring energy. Otherwise, Great Elder Shangu would not have been able to use it. Tianfa watched as the mecha charged towards Su Wang, and it naturally saw Su Wang as well. Its blood-red liquid began to boil. A creature from another universe? It could tell that Su Wang did not belong to this universe. This was the reason why Blacklist God had told Lu Yin where Su Wang was. He wanted to use Su Wang to suppress Tianfa. Blacklist God was confident that he could do this. Although Su Wang did not have much fighting ability, it was quite resistant to beatings, and it could devour energy on its own without needing to be controlled. As the mecha approached Su Wang, Great Elder Shangu felt his energy drain away. However, this type of energy devouring was fine as long as it stayed away from Su Wang. It was not Su Wang's poison. Now it all depended on what Tianfa would do. Tianfa only hesitated for a moment before attacking Su Wang. It hesitated because it sensed that Su Wang was not to be trifled with, but since it did not belong to this universe, it had to act. Earthen Blade. Countless blades slashed at Su Wang from below, including the mecha. Great Elder Shangu took out his Heavenly Emperor card to block the blades, but the mecha could not block Tianfa's blades. The endless blades slashed down on Su Wang's body, startling him awake. Su Wang hurriedly flipped over and growled in pain. Tianfa did not show any mercy. Anyone who dares to enter this universe will be killed without mercy. Su Wang flipped over and its huge body crushed the stars as it charged towards Tianfa. It seemed huge, but its speed was not slow. It traveled through the stars like a sea, and the closer it got to Tianfa, the stronger the energy devouring became. Its angry roar filled the sky as it opened its mouth to bite at Tianfa. Tianfa growled, "Laws cannot get close to me. Your laws are useless against me." Su Wang was born from the universe and its ability to devour energy was a type of law. It was not something that was cultivated, but rather something that was nurtured by nature. However, as long as it was a law, it could not get close to Tianfa. The devouring of energy did not affect Tianfa in the slightest. A spear formed in front of Tianfa and Su Wang suddenly stopped moving just like Patriarch Lu Yuan. Heaven's spear. The spear stabbed towards Su Wang, directly piercing his body and passing through his back. Su Wang howled miserably and twisted violently. The sound of space shattering rang out. Great Elder Shan Gu felt his scalp tingle from within the mecha. He knew that even the primordial realm expert Patriarch Lu Yuan was unable to break free from the imprisonment of time, yet Su Wang was able to shatter it. Tianfa was shocked as well. Once strength reached a certain level, it could break free from time. The primordial realm expert Patriarch Lu Yuan was unable to do so because he was not as strong as Su Wang. In the current universe, there was no one who could surpass Su Wang in terms of strength. Perhaps Hongyan Mavis had a chance at surpassing Su Wang after breaking through to the primordial realm, but the chances were very slim. Su Wang could be regarded as the most powerful existence in the countless parallel universes. Even with that being the case, he only twisted. He was unable to break free from the imprisonment of time. The damage from the Heaven's Spear was nowhere near as great as it seemed. Su Wang constantly twisted and the sound of space shattering constantly rang out. Tianfa's earthen blades stretched out endlessly, landing on Su Wang's body. However, they were unable to break through Su Wang's defenses. Only the Heaven's Spear could penetrate Su Wang's body. Tianfa planned on circling around Su Wang and attacking Great Elder Shan Gu first. However, Great Elder Shan Gu had locked onto Su Wang, so he hid near him. He had enough distance to avoid Tianfa's Heaven's Spear. The Heaven's Spear required distance, and it would be useless if it was too far away. The imprisonment of time was not easy, or Tianfa would have been invincible long ago. The endless blades were unable to break through the Heavenly Emperor card's defenses for now, and Su Wang was constantly breaking free from the imprisonment of time. With no other choice, Tianfa could only retreat for now. Seeing Tianfa retreat, Great Elder Shan Gu let out a sigh of relief. He hurriedly piloted his mecha away from Su Wang, afraid that he would unleash a world of nothingness and devour him. Su Wang constantly twisted. The pain had stimulated him and he needed a very long time to recover. Far away, Lu Yin watched this scene with a shocked expression. Forefather, Su Wang's strength is probably beyond that of all living creatures. Forefather Lu Yuan's expression was solemn. Since ancient times, no one has been able to break free from the imprisonment of time. Big Yella is one and so is Su Wang. They are both astral beasts. Humans are much less talented than these astral beasts, Lu Yin said. But we humans are good at creating things. Otherwise, the astral beasts would not have been enslaved in that era. Lu Yuan sighed. Big Yella hates us. Otherwise, I would really want him to come out and reminisce about the past. He used to bring us around in space and we will never be able to return to those days. Scope. Tianfa can't touch Shan Gu for now, but we have to think of a way to deal with him. Otherwise, the protectors of the four directions will always be the Eternal's barrier. 6 Directions Society Reincarnation Spacetime. Inside a restaurant, many people were looking at a table in the corner with strange expressions. The table was filled with delicacies, but there was no one there. A figure was curled up under the table, his buttocks exposed and trembling. The waiter walked over and knocked on the table, causing the person under the table to panic even more. Don't look at me, I'm cheap. I'm just looking around. Don't look at me, I don't want to become a line. Guest? Are you all right? The waiter was puzzled and squatted down to look under the table. The person curled up under the table was Xianxia. He was dressed in plain clothes and hugged 2 banners, trembling non-stop. Go away. Don't look at Grandpa Gio. Go away, Xianxia urged. The waiter was put in a difficult position. Guest, everyone is looking at you. Xianxia was startled and stole a glance outside. Inside the restaurant, dozens of tables on 3 sides were filled. At least 100 people were looking at him, trying to stifle their laughter as they discussed. Xianxia wailed. They're all looking at Grandpa Gio. Do they have nothing better to do? Just eat. Why are they looking at Grandpa Gio? Grandpa Gio wishes you all a long life. The people around him laughed even louder. The waiter tried to stifle his laughter. Guest, are you being chased by your enemies? Don't worry, our restaurant's boss is very powerful. No one dares to come in and cause trouble as long as you're still in the restaurant. Xianxia sighed helplessly. Waiter. Hey, I'm here. You're someone who has seen the world. You're praising me. Have you seen people eating people? The waiter was stunned. What do you mean? Xianxia hugged his banner and sat on the floor in despair. His eyes were lifeless. I'm going to be eaten. The waiter did not know how to reply. Guess the other guests are eating. Please don't say such things. Xianxia stretched out his hand and naturally grabbed the roasted leg of an unknown creature on the table. He took a bite. It's delicious, waiter. Guest, I'm busy here. Can you come out first? Thank you. QZQ 4418 by Duzhong Daming Brothers tip. I'll give it to you. Thanks. Chapter 3184. Xianxia was silent for a while before looking at the waiter in admiration. You've indeed seen the world. You're as steady as Mount Tai. The waiter was speechless. That's not very worldly. Let me introduce you to a woman. She's very pretty and gentle. I'm her grandpa Gio. As long as I say the word, she'll definitely marry you. It's just that there's a love rival. I don't know if you dare to face her. The waiter blinked. Our boss is very nice to me. He's not afraid of love rivals. You've really seen the world. My niece is called Starsabel. That's a good name. Uncle, please come out first. The floor is cold. Good child, uncle admires you. By the way, that love rival of yours is called Lu Yin. Some people call him Master Lu. Boss, this scoundrel lied to me. Who dares to deceive the people of our restaurant? I killed him. With a bang, Xianxia rushed out of the window, still holding a roasted leg in his hand. As he ate, he mumbled, let's go find that brat Lu Yin. Grandpa Gio can't be eaten. Let's see who's more unlucky. Brat Grandpa Gio is here. After Lu Yin returned to the Above the Sky sect, he decided to roll his die. It wouldn't be easy to deal with the Guardian Envoys, and he wanted to see what the Eternals were up to by rolling the dice. The Eternals had done everything they could to get the Guardian Envoys to attack the Above Heaven sect. On the surface, it seemed like they were afraid of the Above Heaven sect, but Lu Yin had no idea what the Above Heaven sect was capable of. The Eternals weren't stupid, and Lu Yin could tell that this was a ploy. Back then, the Eternals hadn't relied on absolute power to destroy Above Heaven. Lu Yin could only be at ease if he knew himself and his enemy. The Purple Emperor's consciousness had helped Jiang Yi's shattered consciousness planet recover by more than half. He should be able to break through the barrier now. This time he would not merge into the bodies of the 7 sky gods, the 3 sky gods, and the 6 boundless gods to prevent himself from being targeted by the one true god. It would be best to merge into the bodies of the eternal race's progenitors and see the situation in the first calamity zone. Looking up, the die appeared. Shaking it, he tapped it with his finger. The die spun slowly before finally coming to a stop. He tapped it again and a useless item fell out. 10 days later, Lu Yin rolled the die once more. He had rolled it 4 times before, but it didn't yield a 6. Once, twice, thrice, and 4 times there were still no 6 dots. He was quite unlucky. 10 days later there were still no 6 dots. Such a situation was rare, and Lu Yin refused to believe it. Finally, the die stopped at 6 and his consciousness appeared in the dark space. He looked into the distance and saw a dark and deep space. There was a dim ball of light in the distance that was far weaker than his own. Lu Yin's consciousness traveled through the void, and he soon saw a slightly brighter ball of light. He estimated that this ball of light was at the progenitor realm. However, there was a barrier between the light cluster and him. Lu Yin's consciousness rushed forward and crashed through the barrier, merging into the ball of light. When he opened his eyes, he was greeted by the familiar landscape of the first realm of calamity. His memories quickly surged into his mind and he raised a hand. He had never thought that he would actually merge with a heavy ghost's body. Zhonggui was one of the captains of the True God Guard. The first time he had appeared was when he attacked the Above the Sky sect. Coincidentally, the Lu family had been brought back. He had been captured by Patriarch Lu Tianyi and had been imprisoned in the Death Chi of the Eternal Kingdom. When Di Qiong had attacked the Eternal Kingdom, Lu Yin had wanted to use Yi Bo's identity to enter the zone of calamity. He had had no choice but to bring Zhonggui and Dual Swords back to the Eternal Kingdom. Heavy ghosts weren't humans, and Lu Yin had received reports about them. The Sky Sect had interrogated them, but they hadn't said anything. At this moment his memories told him that a heavy ghost was a person, but one with an extremely tragic fate. He had originally been an ordinary person, but he had been captured by a cultivator. That cultivator had used insects to attack others and fed humans to the insects. The heavy ghost had experienced an extremely tragic childhood and had luckily survived. However, that cultivator had been devoured by the insects and died without even leaving behind a single bone. Because the heavy ghost had spent a lot of time with insects, he had gained the ability to control them and had stepped onto the cultivator's path. That cultivator had only been an envoy, but he had relied on the heavy ghost's path to reach the progenitor realm. Because he had used insects to fight, the heavy ghost had been viewed as an evil person. He had never explained himself and had killed all enemies who came to attack him. He had committed heinous crimes in his own civilization, and he had been brought back by the Eternal Kingdom to become a captain of the True God Guard. As for his strange words, they had all come from his childhood interactions with insects, which had led to another personality. The heavy ghost's memories made Lu Yin rather uncomfortable. His childhood had been miserable, and the slaughter he had experienced after becoming a cultivator had been an eye-opener for Lu Yin. This person was very pitiful. His entire life had been miserable, but he had also brought misery to countless people. He had killed many innocent people. In front of him, the river of divine power flowed along the cracks in the ground. The first zone of disaster had been destroyed after several wars. Muji walked over from a distance. "Heavy ghost, why are you also staring at the river of divine power?" Lu Yin looked at Muji. Huiwu had become a berserk corpse because of him, and this person was one of his targets to kill. However, this person had not told the Eternals that he was Yebwa, nor had he revealed his suspicions about Wang Xiaoyu. What was he thinking? Muji looked at the heavy ghost strangely. "What's wrong with you? This isn't like you." Lu Yin's consciousness withdrew from his body. He did not need to worry about anything now. Even if he had been discovered, so what? The one true God already knew that he could use the dye to enter another's body. The 3 powers, 6 seas and the 7 sky gods should all know. It was not impossible for Muji and the others to know as well, so he would just let the heavy ghost be suspected. His consciousness returned to his body and he sighed. His experience as a heavy ghost had made his heart heavy. People had to control themselves. He had also experienced white meat and had almost been eaten. Fortunately, his luck had not been too bad, and he had obtained everything that should have been his. Calming himself down, Lu Yin continued to roll the die. Another 10 days passed and Lu Yin rolled possession again. He found a ball of light and merged with it. When he opened his eyes, a dark red light filled his vision. Was this the river of divine power? Memories flooded in as Lu Yin merged with the berserk corpse. This corpse's memories were very complex as it had once been a progenitor. However, Lu Yin was not interested in its memories since it was just a berserk corpse. Not too far away was another berserk corpse, Huiwu. Lu Yin looked at Huiwu, whose eyes were closed. He was locked in a cage and had no aura at all. During the battle in Yi region, Huiwu had charged out from the lake of divine power and brought the Shaoyin divinity towards the Black Mother Tree. At that time, no one had understood Huiwu's actions. Was he helping the Shaoyin divinity? Or was he harming the Shaoyin divinity? Regardless of the situation, Huiwu had still been thrown under the lake of divine power and turned into a berserk corpse. Lu Yin wanted to call out to Huiwu, but suddenly, divine power flowed and a 4-sided seal appeared in front of him. The one true God's voice rang out, "You recovered so quickly?" Lu Yin hurriedly withdrew from the fusion and returned to the dark space. The seal followed closely behind, bombarding Lu Yin's consciousness. Fortunately, Lu Yin reacted quickly this time and he was not hit. After his consciousness returned to his body, he panted heavily. It was fine as he had dodged it. The one true God had been trapped in the 6 paths of reincarnation, but he had still been able to use a turbid treasure to attack Lu Yin. As expected, he had been prepared. Lu Yin put away the die. If he wanted to obtain information on the Eternals, either the 3 pillars and the 6 seas or the 7 sky gods would be the best choices. Unfortunately, they would definitely be guarded against, and the die's usefulness had been limited. Lu Yin felt a sense of loss. He stayed in the above-the-sky Sex back mountain for a few days, trying to find a way to bypass the Guardians and start a war with the Eternals. On this day, news came from Lu Tianjing that Ku Zu had awakened. Lu Yin was delighted and he immediately went to Lu Tianjing. Kuzhu was one of the 9 mountains and 8 seas from the Daoist sect's era. The 9 mountains and 8 seas were just a name, as Kuzhu's true strength was incomparably terrifying. Lu Yin would never forget that when he had been traveling through space in the Daoist sect's main hull, he had seen Kuzhu and the undying deity collide head-on, and a small portion of the undying deity's body had been shattered. Kuzhu had killed his way into the first zone of disaster, faced the one true god, and survived. Kuzhu was the first powerhouse in the primordial space to be respected by Celestial Victor, and he had exchanged the victorious battle technique with Celestial Victor. Celestial Victor had killed his way into the zone of disaster several times in order to find traces of Kuzhu. There were not many legends about Kuzhu in the primordial space, but anyone who knew about him would be shocked. Kuzhu's strength was definitely not below progenitor Chen's. In the depths of Lu Tianjing's mountain range, Kuzhu sat on one end of a chain with his head lowered. No one knew what he was thinking. On the other end of the chain were Lu Yuan and Lu Tianyi. Lu Yin arrived and saw Kuzhu with his head lowered. "How is Kuzhu?" Lu Tianyi replied, "He's been like this since he woke up and he hasn't spoken to us. Let's wait. He should be recovering." Lu Yin looked at Kuzhu and waited quietly. After a while, Kuzhu slowly raised his head and saw Lu Yuan and the other two. His gaze landed on Lu Tianyi and he said in a hoarse voice, "Senior Tianyi." Lu Tianyi relaxed. "Kuzhu, how are you?" Kuzhu looked at his body. "I need time to recover. It's a bit troublesome." He then looked at Lu Yuan in surprise. "Pathmaster." Kuzhu had never met Lu Yuan before. Lu Yuan was in deep slumber all year round. "I've heard of your deeds. You killed your way into the Calamity region alone. Kuzhu, thank you for everything you've done for humanity," Lu Yuan praised. Kuzhu frowned. "I forgot." "Senior, have you forgotten what you've done?" Lu Yin could not help but ask. Kuzhu looked at Lu Yin and his eyes lit up. "Things will move in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme." Lu Yin bowed deeply to Kuzhu. "Junior Lu Yin thanks Senior for your inheritance. Things will move in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme. This technique has saved me too many times." Kuzhu sized Lu Yin up. "You're not weak, but you're still a half-ancestor. It's rare." Lu Tianyi replied. "His name is Lu Yin and he's the current pathmaster of the primordial space. The Daoist sect is no more and my Lu family has been exiled once. Many things have happened since you went missing and we'll tell you everything." Kuzhu nodded. "The affairs of the world are unpredictable and that's how it should be. Humanity will always be reborn from the ashes and return to glory." At this point his gaze turned cold. "I remember now. Rebirth. Butterfly. I was killed by Butterfly once." Lu Yuan and the other two were shocked. "Butterfly?" Kuzhu lowered his head and clutched his head. He seemed to be in pain and his eyes flickered as if he was recalling something. Lu Yin and the other two exchanged glances. "Butterfly. Tianan. Thank you. QZQ 4418 Baidu. Brother's reward, I'll give it to you, thank you." Chapter 3185. The desolate ancestor kept recalling his memories as his skin cracked and fell off inch by inch, revealing new skin as if he had been reborn. He suddenly looked up. "I was killed by a butterfly once in space and used the mountain sea battle technique to break out of the cocoon. Although I survived, I lost some of my memories." "Yes, that's it." "What kind of butterfly?" Lu Yuan asked anxiously. "A huge butterfly with a gentle voice. I don't remember what she said. I only know that I was in a bad state at that time and was on the verge of death. I don't know why a butterfly appeared and tried to kill me. I used the mountain sea battle technique, which can only be used once to break out of the cocoon and escape death. That butterfly, it's a butterfly killed me once." Lu Yin's expression was gloomy, but his voice was gentle. A huge butterfly was definitely a blessing from heaven. Did that butterfly carry a light that shines in space? Desolate ancestor suddenly looked at Lu Yin. "You've seen it before?" Lu Yin clenched his fists. "Senior, we should plan how to kill that butterfly." Lu Yin and the others were the first to see the desolate ancestor when he woke up, followed by Dou Xing and Shi Wei. News of the desolate ancestor's awakening did not spread because he was killed by Butterfly Tianan. So far, only a few people knew that the desolate ancestor was in Lu Tianjing. Butterfly Tianan might have thought that the desolate ancestor was dead, so she was still pretending in front of the humans. In reality, she was even worse than Tianfa. Tianfa slaughtered on the surface, while Butterfly Tianan secretly killed human powerhouses. So that's how it is. Let the Eternals take all the grace. Although the lost tribesmen had gone missing since the Heavenly Sect's Imperial Tournament, Elder Gu had appeared several times, so there were not many waves. The Eternals' propaganda among the humans could not compare to the Heavenly Sect's. Wei Rong was the best at this. Everyone was waiting for the Heavenly Sect to launch a decisive battle against the Eternals. At this time, a legend about the Mirage Domain quickly spread throughout the Six Directions Society, including the various parallel universes. The cause was that a huge creature hidden in the void had appeared in a parallel universe called 100 Martial, which attracted the cultivators of the 100 Martial universe to investigate. Finally, they found a piece of beast skin and several stones wrapped in it. No one knows who told the origin of the stones, but the entire 100 Martial universe instantly knew that these stones were related to the legendary Mirage Domain. Gradually, the news spread to the Six Directions Guild and to the Celestial Sect. It also spread to the Boundless Battlefield. When Mr. Dahing received the news, he was shocked. Is the news true? In front of him, a cultivator from the Repose Palace respectfully said, "It's true. Now, the animal skin and several stones are in the 100 Martial universe. The 100 Martial universe has joined forces with other universes that have a friendly relationship with it. Several masters who have reached the Ancestor Realm have joined forces to seal the animal skin and stones and decided to auction them. The invitation letter has been sent to the Six Direction Society." Mr. Dahing frowned. They are actually auctioning it? It is said that the people of 100 Martial Universe do not believe in the Mirage Domain, so they want to auction it for some practical benefits, the man replied. Mr. Dahing nodded. That's a wise choice. Announcing the news so openly, even those who want to snatch it will have to think twice. Right, I got it. Wait, what's the reaction of the Heavenly Sect? I heard that Old Zen has already gone to 100 Martial Universe to buy those things. Mr. Daheng's eyes narrowing his eyes, he said, "All right, you can go back." After the man left, Mr. Daheng muttered to himself. The stones of the Mirage Domain had not appeared for so many years. How could so many of them appear all of a sudden? Moreover, why would someone know that these stones were related to the Mirage Domain and spread the news? This matter made Mr. Daheng feel uneasy, as if something was about to happen. However, he was not willing to give up. After all, this matter was related to the Mirage Domain and himself. What he was most afraid of was that this matter was related to the Heavenly Sect, but it was unlikely. Why would the Heavenly Sect do this for no reason? If they had the time, they might as well think about how to infiltrate the Eternal Race. Recently, he had heard some rumors that the Heavenly Sect had given up on the Lost Clan. Some people also said that the Heavenly Sect was targeted by powerhouses and would definitely be destroyed. He did not believe these words at all. He knew too well how powerful the Heavenly Sect was now. In the past, it was very difficult for Lu Yin and the others to kill the Forgotten Ruins god. Now, which of the 7 sky gods dared to come out alone? If they came out, they would die. Although the current Heavenly Sect was still not at its peak, it was not far off. At least the Eternal Race was afraid. The disappearance of the endless battlefield was the best proof. If this matter had nothing to do with the Heavenly Sect, he wanted to get involved. However, he was afraid that the Heavenly Sect would get involved. He knew that these stones were related to the Mirage Domain. After thinking about it, Mr. Daheng decided to go, but he had to hide his identity. Similarly, in the endless battlefield, Luo Shan also heard this news in a parallel spacetime. His decision was the same as Mr. Daheng's. He would go and hide his identity. Regardless of whether the Heavenly Sect would get involved, he was sure that Daheng would definitely go. If Daheng fought with the Heavenly Sect, then he could wait for an opportunity. He was not interested in the Mirage Domain because he knew that he would not be able to obtain so many stones. The Heavenly Sect was the most likely to obtain the stones. However, this did not stop him from finding an opportunity to deal with Daheng. If he did not deal with this person, he would never be able to feel at ease. In the Heavenly Sect, Elder Chan had gone to a parallel spacetime outside the realm. The Heavenly Sect naturally had to get involved. In the Six Direction Association, many cultivators were looking forward to seeing who these stones would eventually belong to. They wanted to see the legendary Mirage Domain. The 100 Martial Universe was a relatively powerful parallel spacetime with 2 progenitors. Even in the Six Direction Association, they were quite strong. In the past, the Six Direction Association had wanted to include the 100 Martial Universe, but the 100 Martial Universe had refused. At that time, the war with the Eternals had been intense, so the Six Direction Association had not acted against the Hundred Martial Universe. In fact, the Hundred Martial Universe had not been able to decide whether to join the Six Direction Association. There were many similar situations, and it was precisely because these parallel spacetimes were connected that they dared to refuse the Six Direction Association. When Lu Yin had first joined the Six Direction Association, there were less than 70 parallel spacetimes in the Endless Battlefield and the Six Direction Association. It was not that there were no parallel spacetimes, but that these parallel spacetimes were connected to each other, and they refused to join the Six Direction Association and fight with the Eternals. This could not be helped, as a considerable number of them were not humans at all. The Hundred Martial Universe was dominated by humans, but other races could also interfere. At this moment, in a huge circular plaza in the Hundred Martial Universe, people were arriving one after another. The auction would be held in this plaza. The plaza was piled up with dark red stones and looked quite simple and crude. There was a huge statue of a man in the middle of the plaza. This statue was the first human progenitor of the Hundred Martial Universe, who had changed the world and led the people of the Hundred Martial Universe to embark on the path of cultivation. This person was called the Hundred Martial Universe. Some people called this spacetime the Hundred Martial Universe. The entire plaza was very large and it was not easy to enter. No more than 5 people from each parallel spacetime were qualified to enter, and these were the stronger ones. The weaker ones did not even have the qualifications to enter. Outside the plaza, people landed from time to time, and there were also astral beasts in human form. Some astral beasts were much larger than this plaza. There won't be any trouble, right? There was a high platform directly behind the statue in the plaza, and 5 people stood on it. They were the progenitors who had organized this auction. 2 of them were humans from the Hundred Martial Universe, 1 was an astral beast from the Hundred Martial Universe, and the other 2 were from 2 parallel spacetimes. It was because of these 5 progenitors that they dared to hold this auction. Otherwise, they would not dare to face the many powerful parallel spacetimes outside. It shouldn't be. We have already sent invitations to those powerful spacetimes. As long as they don't cause trouble, we should be fine with our strength. Someone said. What did the Six Paths Society say? Of course, we'll hand over the invitation letters as soon as possible. The Six Direction sect has received a total of 20 invitation letters. We have to be careful with them, especially the Above Heaven sect. I've personally made a trip there and handed over the invitation letter to that Elder Chan. We must not be careless with the Above Heaven sect. They are too terrifying. Let alone the 5 of us, even if there were 50 of us, I would not feel safe. Did the Above Heaven sect say anything else? Someone asked. The person who personally went to the Above Heaven sect to deliver the invitation hesitated for a moment and said, Old Zen asked us to sell the stones and beast skins directly to the Above Heaven sect. The price must be satisfactory. No, what we want is not only benefits but also fame. The Above Heaven sect is so powerful because they have roped in many parallel spacetimes. Although we cannot reach the Above Heaven sect's level, roping in more parallel spacetimes will help us protect ourselves. Yes, this is our fundamental benefit. The Above Heaven sect cannot touch it. Don't worry, I refused. Otherwise, there would not be this auction. The Above Heaven sect might be dissatisfied, but they will not do anything to us. Parallel spacetimes are joining the origin space one after another. They still have to put on a show for the other parallel spacetimes. Otherwise, how can they convince the public? Don't worry, the Above Heaven sect will not have a problem. That is, Old Zen is here. Go and welcome him. Several people were shocked and hurriedly went down. Outside the dark red plaza, Old Zen attracted the attention of countless people. The Above Heaven sect had been thoroughly recognized by the Above Heaven sect. Many parallel spacetimes had preserved relatively ancient history. They knew very well how powerful the Above Heaven sect used to be. The current Above Heaven sect was already close to the former Above Heaven sect. People kept coming forward to chat with Old Zen, but they were limited to progenitors. Looking around, there were only a few progenitors outside the plaza. Soon, a group of 5 people came out. 100 Martial Spacetimes by NI is here to welcome Senior. Old Zen looked over. By NI was 100 Martial Spacetimes progenitor, the descendant of 100 Martial Spacetime. This auction was initiated by him. Beside by NI, a man bowed. 100 Martial Spacetimes Ching Du is here to welcome Senior. 100 Martial Spacetimes Illumination Raccoon is here to welcome Senior. Xianxia Spacetime's esteemed Xianxia is here to welcome Senior. Luofu Spacetime's Luofu King is here to welcome Senior. The 5 progenitors came out to welcome him. They were the leaders of the auction, giving the above heaven sect enough face. Chapter 3186. The surrounding people were as quiet as cicadas in winter, watching this scene enviously. Not everyone was qualified to be welcomed by these 5 people. After all, they were 5 supreme powerhouses. The 5 of them joined forces and once dared to refuse the 6 Paths Association's invitation. Elder Chan smiled. "You're all too polite." Bai Ni was enthusiastic. "It's our honor to have the above heaven sect come. Elder Chan, please." Elder Chan nodded and stepped into the square under the compliments of several people. Someone was jealous. "Ba, what's this? We have to line up." Hearing this, the people next to him gloated. "Brother, if you can also make an imperial edict and shock the universe, they will do the same to you. We were just lucky to unite many parallel universes. If it weren't for the shocking news of the 100 Martial universe, our universe wouldn't have known that so many parallel universes were connected." "Who isn't?" "At first, I also thought that there were only a few parallel universes in the entire universe. For this reason, I was worried that the 6 Paths Association would forcibly take them away. Now it seems that I was thinking too much. There are many parallel universes. There are quite a few, but none can match the 6 Paths Association." "That's true." The 2 who spoke were not human. In the entire square, less than 1/10 of the human population was human. Most of them were astral beasts. The races that were not human were collectively called astral beasts, but there were also great distinctions among them. No less than 5 battles took place outside the square, all of which were fights between astral beasts. However, these battles did not enter Elder Chan's eyes. These astral beasts did not dare to fight in front of Elder Chan. The above heaven sect was really a colossus to them. In the distance, De Hing had already arrived. He hid his face and received an invitation. For a powerhouse like him, it did not matter whether he received an invitation or not. He had plenty of ways to get it. Watching Elder Chan being invited in, his eyes wandered and suddenly fixed on a person. That person looked at him at the same time and they looked at each other. Luoshan. The 2 were from the same sect and recognized each other at a glance. Luoshan frowned. He had tried his best to disguise himself, but he was still recognized by De Hing. There was no other way. His disguise could not fool De Hing and De Hing's disguise could not fool him. The 2 did not speak and silently entered the square. There were many creatures coming from further away, and there were countless creatures outside the square. They did not ask to enter but to see how many parallel universes would be attracted and what would happen here. After all, the above heaven sect was concerned about the Mirage domain. Lu Yin had arrived and he was wearing a mask. Even San Qing and Lu Hao couldn't recognize him, let alone anyone else. It was so lively. Following the line, he slowly entered the dark red plaza. He glanced around and easily found De Hing and Luoshan. These 2 couldn't discover him at all. Other than them, there were a few other experts here, but none of them were anything special. Would the Eternals come? In the dark red square, on the high platform behind the statue, Elder Zen had been invited here. "Gentlemen, it's not convenient for me to participate in the auction from here," Elder Chan said with a smile. His eyes could see the entire square and he had the best view. Bai Ni laughed. "Senior, if you want to reveal your identity to participate in the auction, there is no problem at all. If you don't want to reveal your identity, there are other ways to participate in the auction." Esteemed Master Yangjiao apologized. "If it is possible, we are willing to send all of these things to the above heaven sect. However, Senior, please forgive us. It is not easy for us to survive in parallel universes. Sometimes we need some things to cheer ourselves up." Elder Chan raised his hand and stopped him. "I understand, but I have a question I want to ask." He looked at Bai Ni. "Don't you plan to participate in the battle between the above heaven sect and the Eternals?" Bai Ni and the others looked at each other. They knew that the above heaven sect would ask this and thought of an answer. "Of course we will participate. If the Eternals appear, we will fight to the death. If the above heaven sect and the Eternals fight, our 100 Martial universe will definitely send experts to participate. So will our Xianxia universe. So will our Luofu universe." Elder Chan smiled. Words were words, but actions were another matter altogether. They only wanted to protect themselves and hoped that the Six-Party Association would fight to the death with the Eternals. They didn't consider what would happen to humanity if the Six-Party Association lost. They thought that they couldn't change the situation of the war so they could stay out of it. Little did they know that the rise and fall of this universe was related to everyone, even an ordinary person who didn't know anything. The Six-Party Association tried to force some parallel universes into the endless battlefield. Some universes succeeded, such as Dashur Kong, but many others failed. They gathered together to fight against the Six-Party Association. However, sometimes they couldn't be blamed. No one wanted to put their hometown in the endless battlefield, which was a millstone of life and death. It could only be said that only by changing the general trend could one change the hearts of people. Why are they here? King Luofu suddenly stood up and exclaimed, his face changed drastically. And I was puzzled. Who is here? Elder Chan looked at the entrance of the square. At this moment several people were entering. He was attracted at a glance because these people's appearance was more conspicuous. It was not that their appearance was strange, but they looked like ordinary people. They were too normal, so normal that it was abnormal. Generally speaking, when traveling in the universe, cultivators would more or less have some self-defense equipment, which made them look like they had been through years of killing. These people, on the other hand, were like sheep that had accidentally wandered into a pack of wolves. They were completely defenseless. But Elder Chan knew that it was them that made King Luofu's face change drastically. Because at first sight, Elder Chan felt a strong sense of crisis. Yang Jia stared at the people at the entrance, his eyes cold. That's the second life. Qing Du and Zhao Li's faces changed. Bai and I also remembered. Second life? Why are they here? Trouble. Elder Chan was curious. What's wrong? Is there a problem with those people? King Luofu's face was gloomy. Senior, you may not know, but the Second Life is a gang that runs amok in the universe. They are very powerful and are the most feared extraterrestrial powerhouses. They do not follow the rules and are completely bandits. Unfortunately, no one can do anything to them. The first time they became famous was when they stole a supreme treasure from a helmsman in a parallel universe. They slaughtered the entire helmsman and shocked that helmsman. Outsiders thought it was a vendetta and didn't pay much attention to it. But then they went crazy and went around stealing supreme treasures. They killed people everywhere, including astral beasts. They didn't even spare the Eternals. They just killed people for the sake of stealing. They had no position and no morals. Elder Chan frowned. Are they very powerful? King Luofu took a deep breath. His tone and gaze were full of fear. Very powerful. After so many years, they have slaughtered so many creatures that I finally understood their abilities. The Second Life has a total of 5 people. The eldest, Second Bone, is a sequence powerhouse. He is terrifying at first glance and has the 3 styles of the bone-leaving technique. His bones are connected and he has an avatar. He is extremely powerful and is confident that no one can break through his avatar's defenses. The Second Mote is also a sequence powerhouse. He has the ability to copy other people's battle skills. He is very difficult to deal with. Usually when the eldest doesn't appear, she will deal with the strongest enemies with ease. The third Second Gang is not a sequence powerhouse, but he has unparalleled physical strength. No one has ever broken through his defenses. There was once a sequence life form that fought the Second Life, and the other 4 didn't even need to do anything. Second Gang alone killed that sequence life form and he became famous in that battle. The fourth Second Kindness can be considered the brains of the Second Life. He is very smart and can quickly predict danger. In the past, the parallel universes of the Outer Realms joined forces to encircle and annihilate them once. The 6 Paths sent out a 9th-grade Venerable Lotus to capture them all in one fell swoop. It was a surefire ambush, but in the end no one was even seen. I heard that Second Kindness sensed danger and retreated. In fact, the parallel universes had been preparing for that ambush for a very long time. Even if there were traitors, they wouldn't have been able to expose them. They were only able to escape because of Second Kindness. As for the 5th, King Luofu looked at the others. They looked at each other and shook their heads. No one knows how strong the 5th is because she has never made a move, not even once. Elder Chan's eyes flashed. Perhaps she has, but you don't know. Bai and I agreed. We think so too, but we can't find any traces of her making a move. She is very difficult to deal with. I didn't expect them to come. They have guts. Zhao Li exclaimed. King Luofu looked at Elder Chan then looked down. Aren't they afraid that this is another ambush? Since they dared to come they must have come prepared. Elder Chan, what do you think? Bai Inai asked. Elder Chan said, when Venerated Lotus participated in the ambush, was it her own will, or was it the Six Paths Society's instruction? The Six Paths Society's instruction. King Luofu was very certain. Because the war with the Eternals was fierce at that time, the departure of one expert would have a great impact on the Six Paths Society. Even so, Venerated Lotus still came because the second anima was too vile. Although they attacked the Eternals didn't care. More humans died at their hands, including the astral beasts. They are a group of inhumane beasts, Qing Du said in a low voice. Elder Chan's gaze swept across the square. The Dao Master was here and the situation of the second anima would definitely reach his ears. How to deal with it would depend on the Dao Master. Let's wait and see, said Old Chan. He knew what these people were thinking. They wanted the auction to be a success, but they also wanted to surround and kill second anima. Of course they couldn't do it on their own. Their only option was to invite the experts of the 3 Yangs and 6 Lords, as well as the 8 Daos of the inner and outer realms. If the above heaven sects really came, they definitely didn't want to fail because this was the first time the above heaven sects had fought. Failure would be too embarrassing. On the other hand, the ones benefiting from this would be the 100 Martial Universe. With second anima dying here, their prestige would definitely be greatly improved. That was a good idea. The second anima's group had already entered the square. If King Luofu could recognize them, so could the others. Chapter 3187. Isn't that the second life? How dare they show up? Don't look for death. The second life is evil but they're powerful. We'll be finished if they target us. Let's just do our job. If they want to participate in the auction, will the others dare to expose themselves? Once they take something, they'll definitely target us. Not necessarily. Depends on who gets it. If the above heaven gets it, the second life won't dare to make trouble for them. That's true, but the second life isn't afraid of death. In the square, the second life and the others walked in indifferently. The noise around them didn't affect them at all. Big brother, isn't it too high profile this time? It's not in line with our rules. Second Meng pushed up her glasses. She was wearing a black sweater and a pair of big glasses. Just like her name, she looked very cute. But those who knew her well knew how cruel she was. Second Gang grinned. What's there to be afraid of? Who would dare to attack us? As long as fifth sister isn't here, we'll be fine. It's better to be careful. After all, the above heaven sect is here. Second Bone's face was solemn. It was indeed risky to come here. The above heaven sect's martial arts decree terrified them, but they wanted to enter the mirage field more. They had robbed a lot of things over the years and learned a lot. They knew more about the mirage field than most people. They knew that the mirage field was magical. There might be hope for them to break through there. Once they did, the above heaven sect and the Eternals wouldn't be able to do anything to them. Their wish hadn't changed from the beginning. They wanted to become the most terrifying existence in the universe. It didn't matter if their hands were stained with blood. As for their stance, it had nothing to do with them. They didn't care about humans or the Eternals. As for disguises, they couldn't do it. There were too many of them. Once they appeared, they would definitely be discovered. It was better to be high profile and make others wary. Big brother, this isn't like you. You'd rather rob the items after they've been obtained than show up at the auction. Second Meng didn't understand. She looked at the gentleman behind her. He was Second Kindness. He wore a monocle and liked to look at his pocket watch. Fourth brother, was it your idea? Second Kindness looked up. The items can only be obtained here. Once they're taken away, they'll never be obtained again. What? Second Meng didn't understand. Second Kindness glanced at her. Just do it. Don't ask so much. Second Cutie bared her teeth. The second Bone looked around. There were too many eyes focused on them. He didn't know what kind of powerful individuals were hiding in the shadows, and how many people from the high and mighty above heaven sect came. He really was looking forward to it. He had been fighting in the dark for so many years. He also hoped that one day his name would spread throughout the entire universe. It was meaningless to just scare these trash. He wanted to walk to the same height as the above heaven sect and the eternal race. That would be interesting. This was also the reason why he did not hesitate to come here. Danger definitely, but they had their trump cards. In the crowd, Lu Yin heard the discussions around him and looked at the few people who were dressed too normally. Second Life. At the same time, Second Kindness' eyes widened. He put away his pocket watch and shouted, "There's a master. Be careful." The expressions of Second Bone and the others changed, and they all took a step back to protect Second Kindness. They had done this action too many times. Second Bone looked at Second Kindness. Beads of sweat dripped from the forehead of the Second Kindness. His face paled as he sank into fear. They had seen this scene before. It was when these parallel universes had asked the Six Paths Association to kill them. At that time, Second Kindness had acted in a similar manner, causing them to give up on the supreme treasure that they had dreamed of obtaining. It turned out that they had made the right choice. If they had acted at that time, they would not have had a second life. Now Second Kindness was acting in the same manner again. This caused Second Bone's heart to sink. Fourth brother. Second Bone's smile also disappeared. Second Cutie's expression was terrifyingly calm. Second Kindness took a few deep breaths and said in a low voice, "Big brother, we should retreat. I was too naive. The Mirage Domain has attracted monsters." "Who?" Second Bone asked. Second Kindness shook his head. "I don't know, but I felt an indescribable danger just now. It was stronger than any other time, so strong that I couldn't breathe. Big brother, let's give up. We underestimated those behemoths. They don't just have a large number of experts." Second Bone was unwilling. "If we take the risk, can we snatch it?" Second Kindness shouted, "Big brother, let's give up." Second Cutie's tone was terrifyingly calm, completely different from before. "Listen to fourth brother. Big brother, let's give up." Scope. Second Bone nodded. Scope. Second Bone closed his eyes and said bitterly, "The auction hasn't even started and we've already given up. We Second Life have never been so humiliated. Forget it, let's go." After that, they walked out of the square. King Luofu and the others had been staring at Second Life. When they saw them walking out of the square, they were puzzled. Were they leaving? Most of the eyes in the square were focused on Second Life. They watched as they walked out of the square. Halfway there, they suddenly stopped and changed direction, walking towards a corner of the square. Everyone who saw them was confused. What was going on? At this moment, Second Kindness's fear had reached its peak. Just as they were about to leave the square, an even stronger sense of danger came. He did not know where this danger came from. Was it inside the square or outside the square? He only knew that the further he walked, the stronger the danger became. It was so strong that he trembled. He could only walk towards the corner of the square. No matter what, at least this place was safe before the auction ended. Is it really that scary? Second Bone's face darkened. Second Kindness was terrified. "Big brother, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever felt in my life. We can't do anything. When the auction starts, we'll leave immediately." "My mistake. I shouldn't have come. There might be more than one monster here," Second Bone said bitterly. Second Kindness gritted his teeth. "I was the one who told everyone to come. Fourth brother, this has nothing to do with you. I was the one who told you to help me get what I wanted. So many years of experience have made me arrogant. I thought I could compete with those giants, but they all have their own monsters," Second Bone said helplessly. "No need to say anything. Just stay in the corner quietly. No matter what, as long as Fifth Sister is fine, we'll be fine. We're not weak." Second Meng was calmer than anyone else. The square quieted down. Lu Yin looked at them with interest. Were these guys here to make fun of him? They wanted to leave after coming, but they didn't seem to want to leave. Outside the square, a man and a woman were just like everyone else. They were very ordinary and even Lu Yin did not notice them. The two walked towards a corner and sat down quietly. Soon after, another person entered. It was Dan Gu. He entered the square and naturally found a corner to sit down. He sat right between De Heng and Second Anima, which were quite far apart. Dan Gu sat in the middle, so the three places weren't too far apart. However, they didn't pay attention to each other. Everyone who came here hid their auras as much as possible. They wouldn't make a move until the item was revealed. Gradually, more and more people entered. Second Anima was obviously the most popular. Some people wanted to kill them immediately, but they didn't dare. As time passed, the gate to the square closed, indicating that no one else could enter. It also meant that the auction was about to begin. "Elder Chan, I'll be hosting the auction now," Bai Enai said. Elder Chan nodded. Bai Enai walked off the platform and arrived below the statue, looking at the entire square. At this moment, the 100 Martial Universe was in front of countless people. The success of today's auction was related to their future hopes. He knew that there were too many powerhouses below, many of whom he couldn't afford to offend. All he could do was pray that nothing too serious would happen. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this auction. Everyone is well aware of the final item of today's auction. Before that, there are a few items that I hope will pique everyone's interest as much as possible. With that, he waved a hand, and a beautiful woman walked out to begin the auction that countless parallel universes were paying attention to. The items that could be auctioned off in this sort of auction were not simple, and many people competed for them. They weren't competing for cultivation resources from various parallel universes, but rather for treasures. It could be considered bartering, but to some powerhouses, these items were obviously not worth their attention. For the next auction item, if there are people from the Six Paths sect or even people from the primordial space, you should be familiar with it. It is the wisdom root. The beautiful woman revealed a brilliant smile as she said these two words. Lu Yin's body stiffened as he looked at the platform. Root of wisdom? How could there be a root of wisdom here? There weren't many in the square who had heard of the root of wisdom, but those who understood would definitely not give up on it. Even to a progenitor, a root of wisdom was not an ordinary item. Lu Yin was even more curious about where the root of wisdom had come from. As she spoke, someone walked out from behind the woman, carrying a tray with a root of wisdom on it. The root of wisdom comes from the primordial space's Daoist sect era, and it comes from progenitor Hui, one of the 9 mountains and 8 seas. For cultivators, the root of wisdom can allow them to clear their minds and comprehend things that are normally impossible to comprehend. In other words, it can allow one to discover things that are normally difficult to discover. It is a precious treasure in the primordial space, and if anyone is interested, you may bid for it. Someone immediately placed a bid. On the platform behind the statue, Elder Chan did not say anything and merely watched quietly. Beside him, Bai Ni waved, and a woman walked up and respectfully carried a tray. Elder Chan, this is a gift to you. Elder Chan was astonished and looked at the tray, only to see a root of wisdom on it. This is... Bai Ni smiled. The root of wisdom came from the primordial space, and the auctioneer coincidentally participated in the war during the Daoist sect era. Of course, it was to help the Fifth Mainland. That person obtained the root of wisdom, but he didn't know what to do with it, so he kept it until now. It just so happened that the auction was held and someone brought it here. Chapter 3188. Elder Chan chuckled. Thank you, but our headmaster prefers the wisdom root. Bai Ni's eyes lit up. Headmaster Lu? Elder Chan nodded. Bai Ni swallowed and looked at the others. They exchanged glances and made up their minds. The auction continued and the atmosphere was heated. But for some reason, someone suddenly joined the fray and raised the price crazily. This person's bid was so high that no one else dared to compete. Lu Yin had wanted to compete, but he gave up. Some things would eventually fall into his hands, so there was no rush. In the end, the wisdom root was won by the person who was determined to get it. As for who it was, no one knew. The plaza was not a special auction, but rather the most respected place in the entire 100 Martial Universe. That was why the auction was held here, but it was not difficult to hide one's identity. On the platform behind the plaza's statue, Bai Ni heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had won the bid. This thing might be able to break the ice between them and Master Lu. They had thought that Master Lu would not care about the wisdom root. Elder Chan was amused, but he did not expose them. Many people in the universe wanted to get closer to the headmaster, and even progenitors were no exception. The auction continued. Many people were bidding, but some did not make a move. They were waiting for the finale. The next item to be auctioned is a starry gate. No one knows where this starry gate leads to. We are only auctioning it because someone asked us to do so. Perhaps it leads to the everlasting race, or perhaps it leads to the location of the expert who obtained this starry gate. Everything is unknown. Lu Yin raised an eyebrow and looked at the platform. How bold of them to bid for a stargate. Any stargate could be connected to the everlasting race, so generally speaking, any discovered stargate would be brought to the hexagon for them to decide. Yet here they were auctioning one. Lu Yin looked at the platform behind the statue and his expression darkened. Elder Chan frowned and glanced at Bai Ni and the others. What's the matter with this stargate? Zhao Li quickly stepped forward and smiled apologetically. Elder Chan, this Stargate actually came from one of my elders, and it leads to a place where he once cultivated. It has nothing to do with the everlasting race, which is why we dared to auction it. If it had anything to do with the everlasting race, we would have sent it directly to the Above Heaven sect. That's not all. We can use this Stargate to see if there are any Eternals among the bidders, Qing Du said. Elder Chan shook his head. You're underestimating the Eternals. How can they be so easily identified? They were embarrassed and didn't say anything. In the end, this Stargate was auctioned off. Ordinary people didn't dare to buy this Stargate. After paying a huge price, they would either send it to the Above Heaven sect or the Six Paths Society. Otherwise, they would be unlucky. Moreover, they would be targeted by the Eternals. Only an idiot would buy it. Just as Elder Chan had said, even if there were Eternals in the plaza, they wouldn't bid for the Stargate. De Heng, Luo Shan and the others were even less likely to bid. Right now, Second Fate only wanted to leave and wait for the final item to appear. When that time came, those ruthless people would have no time to deal with them. Only then would they be able to leave. Naturally, they would not bid for the Stargate now. After the Stargate, there were several more auction items. Looking at the situation, it was unknown how many there were. One of the old men couldn't hold back any longer. Rising to his feet, he shouted, "What the hell are you people doing, Bai and I? Hurry up and auction the stones. Why do you think we're here? Are we giving you money?" "That's right. Hurry up and auction the stones. We've been waiting for so long. How long do you want us to wait? Hurry up." More and more people were growing impatient. On the high platform, the beautiful woman was at a loss. Although she had experience in auctioning, she was still terrified by so many ruthless people below the platform. Almost all of them were top-notch experts from different space-time universes. She looked at the statue pleadingly. On the high platform behind the statue, Bai Ni gritted his teeth. These fellows are clearly here to watch the show. Where did they get the confidence to bid? Let's just directly auction the stones. These fellows don't care, but if we offend someone, it won't be easy to clean up the mess, esteemed Yanga said. King Luofu nodded. Let's begin. Bai Ni nodded and gave the order. On the high platform below, the beautiful woman sighed and adjusted her state of mind. She then faced the crowd once more. In accordance with everyone's request, the next auction item will be the final item. 5 stones and the beast hides that wrap them. The starting price will be none. Because the final item is precious, the other items that will be auctioned will be similarly precious. My Bai Ni spacetime may not recognize any of them, so they will all be auctioned with cultivation resources from the primordial space and star essence. The final auction items will be sent directly to the Above Heaven sect. When she said this, the crowd went into an uproar. They were actually sending the auction items to the Above Heaven sect? No one had expected the Bai Ni spacetime to play such a hand. What was the meaning of this? They were trying to lean towards the Above Heaven sect. Luo Shan was flabbergasted and he looked at the high platform behind the statue. He naturally saw Bai Ni and the others as well as Elder Chan. These fellows still had some brains, as even the Above Heaven sect was interested in the Mirage Domain's legend. They had not handed the stones over to the Above Heaven sect as they had their own needs. Now that the auction had been held smoothly, they had obtained what they needed. After the auction, they would hand over the items to the Above Heaven sect, and the Above Heaven sect would definitely not treat them unfairly. Everyone knew that Lu Yin liked star essence. This was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. They had obtained what they wanted, gained the favor of the Above Heaven sect, and even relied on the Above Heaven sect. In the future, anyone who wanted to do anything to the 100 Martial spacetime would have to think twice, as the Above Heaven sect would not stand idly by. They had some brains. Most people thought of this, and for a moment they had a whole new level of respect for Bai Ni and the others. Second Fate and the others were shocked. Second Bone praised, "If nothing unexpected happens, the 100 Martial spacetime, the Yanga spacetime and the Luofu spacetime will form an alliance. This auction has successfully spread their influence, and they might even gain the protection of the Above Heaven sect. As for any losses, they won't suffer any losses. The Above Heaven sect won't accept their resources for nothing. They're smart." After he finished speaking, he looked at Second Kindness with a worried expression. "Fourth brother, can we go now?" Second Kindness gasped for breath. Scope. On the other side, Lu Yin was just as surprised by Ni and the others' actions. Their actions had made it impossible for the Above Heaven sect to ignore them. Interesting. Atop the statue's platform, Elder Chan's gaze swept over Bai Ni and the others. What are you trying to do? Bai Ni hurriedly replied, Please forgive us, Elder Chan. We want to use this auction to make a name for ourselves, so we can't directly give the stone to Master Lu. However, we'll send all of our bids to the Above Heaven sect as a token of our sincerity. Elder Chan laughed. Do you think that the Dao Lord lacks these resources? King Luofu respectfully replied, Master Lu naturally doesn't lack them. This is just our sincerity. Aside from that, I don't know what else could possibly catch Master Lu's eye. Elder Chan smiled and did not say anything else. This was survival. Some people were born with high positions, while others had to use various methods to reach that position. There was no mistake, as Bai Ni and the others had already done enough. However, things might not go as they wished. Below, the auction had already begun. A supreme treasure like mine would be worth at least 50 million star essence in the origin space. You have the nerve to take out 50 million? This is a supreme treasure that can block attacks from powerhouses. It's worth at least 100 million. Do you think it'll be 100 million just because you say so? If you can't, I'll leave my head here. Ever since the origin space was connected to the Hexagon Society, everyone has more or less understood the value of star essence. Mine is worth at least 200 million. Mine can be exchanged for 258.43 million. How did you calculate your 430,000? It's none of your business. The auction did not start and chaos ensued. However, everyone knew that the true powerhouses had yet to make a move. The four from Second Fate were already walking towards the exit of the plaza. Lu Yin looked up at the platform and suddenly took a step forward, reversing the flow of time. Everything around him froze. Lu Yin arrived at the platform and looked at the entire plaza. No one could move and no one could see him. Lu Yin sneered. There were at least 5 sequence laws experts present and all of them could touch the power of time. How could they not sense that he had reversed the flow of time? Fine, since you want to pretend, I'll let you pretend to your heart's content. Lu Yin waved his hand and 5 stones flew out from the tray. One flew towards De Heng, one towards Luo Shan and one towards Second Fate. He casually tossed the remaining 2 away, leaving the beast hide where it had been. Lu Yin took another step forward and left. Everything returned to normal. What had just happened in an instant for those who couldn't touch the power of time. In an instant, all the stones had been shot out. De Heng subconsciously caught the stone. How could this be? Luo Shan also caught the stone and looked at De Heng. Another stone flew towards the exit of the plaza and Second Bone caught it. Not good, an absolute powerhouse. Not everyone who had reached the sequence laws would be able to see Lu Yin reverse the flow of time, but Lu Yin was certain that there was someone present who could see him use it or even break through it. He had a feeling that this was the case. The other 2 stones fell towards the other auctioneers and for a moment the plaza fell silent. Then, there was an angry roar that caused the auction to take an unexpected turn. Put it down. Someone snatched the stone and tried to flee, but he was stopped by someone else. Not far away, a woman lashed out with a whip towards De Heng. Hand it over. De Heng clenched his fists. There was something wrong with this auction, but this stone was the same as the one he already had, so he had to get the other stones. As far as the eye could see, the whip broke and the woman was shocked. Sir, Before she could finish, she was sliced apart by the sequence laws, and blood splattered across the ground. Someone else tried to snatch Luo Shan's stone, but they were also killed by Luo Shan. De Heng looked at Luo Shan and Luo Shan looked back at him. Let's work together. All right. At the exit of the plaza, Second Bone threw the stone away. They would not participate in this competition. But for some inexplicable reason, another stone flew towards them. Second Kindness abruptly turned to look in a certain direction, where Lu Yin was looking at them. Second Kindness' eyes narrowed and he felt his scalp go numb. Brother, let's go. No one would be able to leave easily. Chapter 3189. On the platform behind the statue, Bai Ni and the others had expected this to happen. They didn't care, nor did they have the power to do so. They could only place their hopes on Elder Chan. They had sent all the proceeds from the auction to the sect above with the intention of using the sect as a deterrent. However, they hadn't expected that even the sect above could not suppress the madness of these people. Elder Chan watched calmly with no intention of interfering. The statue shattered and Bai Ni's face fell, but he didn't step in. He couldn't stop them. There were terrifying masters below. He looked at Elder Chan and found him staring at Second Life, who was about to escape. Want to leave? Elder Chan's voice reached the ears of the four from Second Life. They all looked at the statue platform. The sect above? Take the stone and the hide and you'll be dealt with lightly. Otherwise the sect above will send out the inner and outer paths to kill you. Elder Chan's voice was low and filled with murderous intent. Since the first time Second Life had taken action, they had been threatened far too many times. In the past, others had threatened them. Now they were the ones threatening others. It had been a long time since they had experienced the feeling of being threatened. Now that they were being threatened, they had no choice but to be cautious. The sect above was an absolute behemoth. The Eternals had originally been able to suppress humanity, making it difficult for them to contend with them. However, the suppression had been too strong and the sect above had emerged. This was how Second Life saw it. They didn't care whether it was the Eternals or humanity that ruled the universe. They only cared about each other. Regardless, the sect above had taken shape. Although the inner and outer paths had not been fully replenished, they had more than 10 sequence principal masters. The 5 from Second Life only had 2 sequence principal masters. What did it feel like to be hunted down by more than 10 sequence principal masters? Just thinking about it made their scalps go numb. Second Kindness looked at the statue. You're dealing with the Eternals. Do you have time to trouble us? Elder Chan smiled. Then let's send out the 3 suns and 6 lords or the 3 realms and 6 paths to kill you. That's fine too. His words sent chills down Second Life's spine. The inner and outer paths were terrifying, but in terms of numbers, the 3 suns and 6 lords or the 3 realms and 6 paths were absolutely powerful. Second Life had once faced an ambush from a Lotus Venerable, but they hadn't been willing to take the risk, let alone an expert stronger than that. Even though they were confident, the Above Heaven sect was currently in control of the human race's situation. With a single call, hundreds would respond to them. Furthermore, they were notorious and wanted to be killed by everyone. Under such circumstances, it was quite troublesome for them to be chased down by the Above Heaven sect experts. Okay, we agree, but we need to get rid of one person first. Second Kindness suddenly looked at the corner. Where is he? He was looking for Lu Yin, as it was Lu Yin who had thrown the stone at them, which made him feel an intense sense of danger. Now he wanted to attack Lu Yin not only to get rid of future trouble, but also to test the Above Heaven sect. He wanted to see if the person who had attacked them was someone from the Above Heaven sect. If they were, they would rather take the risk of being hunted down by the Above Heaven sect than stay here. It would be obvious that the Above Heaven sect was playing with them. If they weren't, they could help the Above Heaven sect. They were also interested in the positions of the inner and outer realms. It would be even better if they could obtain a position of the 3 Yang 6 lords. However, Lu Yin had disappeared. Old Zen narrowed his eyes when he saw Second Virtue's actions. This person's thoughts were meticulous and he had instantly thought of a way to test him. He could not be allowed to live. On the plaza, most of the people were fleeing. The strength displayed by Daheng Luo Shan and the other Ancestor Realm experts was terrifying enough. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The qualifications to participate. Second Bone looked at the stone in his hand and hesitated. Should he leave or stay? Big brother, let's go. Second Virtue made a prompt decision. Being hunted down by the Above Heaven sect was better than staying here and waiting for death. His sense of danger was growing stronger and he could not stay here. Suddenly, Second Virtue disappeared. A card flashed past where he had been standing, flying towards the auction stage. Second Bone was shocked. Third brother. He reached out to grab it, but he was unable to do so. He watched as the card flew further and further away. Ever since he had entered the plaza, he had been suppressing his anger all this time. His sequence particles surged out and pressed down on the entire plaza. Second Bone's sequence law was fear, which instilled fear in his enemies. Anyone who was touched by his sequence particles would feel a natural sense of fear when facing him. In an instant, the remaining people in the plaza were affected by Second Bone's actions. Daheng and Luo Shan were not spared. In a corner, Lu Yin had been observing the entire situation. The card that had taken Second Bone away was the Heavenly King. He had asked Elder Dan Gu to take action and forcefully keep Second Anima alive. This second anima was not weak, which was a pleasant surprise. It would be enough to delay him until Tianfa arrived. From the very beginning, No one had expected second anima to appear, just like how Lu Yin had not expected that there would be two unknown factors in the plaza. The man and woman's expressions had not changed from the moment they had entered the plaza. Even when a chaotic battle broke out, they were still the same. The more normal they seemed, the more abnormal they seemed. They were the reason why Lu Yin had forcefully kept second anima alive. The waters in this plaza were a little deep. At this moment, second virtue could not leave either. The 5 siblings of second anima were as close as brothers. Even if they did not care about the lives of the humans in the outside world, they still cherished each other the most. Since second virtue had been captured, the others would not leave. On the stage, De Heng waved his hand, using the law of lightness to cut through the void and close in on the beast hide. However, it was not easy for him to get close. Luo Shan, who had originally agreed to work with him, had attacked him. The Sovereign King arrow pierced through the void and appeared in front of De Heng, avoiding the law of lightness attack. This was Luo Shan's law of lightness. Pass. De Heng pushed the arrow away and turned to stare at Luo Shan. What are you doing? Luo Shan's expression was indifferent. I thought that there were some experts here, but now it seems that you have the highest chance of obtaining the item. Now all that's left is the fight between you and me. De Heng was furious. Are you crazy? Elder Chan is here. Do you think he's the only one in heavens above? I had no choice but to act. Who scattered the stones? Who can ignore time? Lu Yin is here. Luo Shan acted as if he did not hear anything and grabbed at De Heng. Sovereign King Force violently tore through the void and opened a door to a world of nothingness. This was Luo Shan's ancestral world, the Sovereign King realm. De Heng was furious. This bastard. The situation in the plaza was uncertain, and this was his only chance to act. He had not expected to be obstructed by this person. At this moment, the Heavenly Emperor card floated out. De Heng and Luo Shan both saw it and exclaimed, Shan Gu. Third brother. The second bone emanated the law of sequence. De Heng stared coldly at the second bone and raised his hand. The law of lightness cut through the void. The second bone wrapped around his arms and grabbed each other's joints. He pulled out 2 white bones from his body and used them as a shield. The law of lightness cut through the white bones and split them in 2. The second bone was shocked and narrowly avoided the attack. Where did this expert come from? Coincidentally, he had come into contact with Luo Shan's ancestral world. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This was because the ancestral world was devouring everything around it and was about to banish him to a world of nothingness. This chill made his scalp go numb. Another expert. Big brother lower. Second kindness voice came in time, and the second bone subconsciously lowered his body. Above his head, a law of lightness cut through him and headed for Luo Shan. De Heng wanted to use the second bone as a shield while actually attacking Luo Shan. Second kindness warning caused the second bone to lower his body in time, which also alerted Luo Shan. Luo Shan avoided the law of lightness and his gaze was cold. De Heng, you're still so despicable. De Heng sneered. When it comes to being despicable, who can compare to you, Luo Shan? I understand now. You knew that Lu Yin was here and you attacked because he instructed you to. This was all set up by him. In the corner, Lu Yin was helpless. Everyone was too smart, but he couldn't say that as he had been too obvious. But there was no other way. No one had provoked a dispute, so he had to do it. This auction had indeed been set up by him, but the 100 Martial Universe and the others had not known about it. They had been passive all this time and Luo Shan did not know either. It was precisely because Luo Shan did not know that he had come. Otherwise, Lu Yin would not have been able to find him. Luo Shan knew that Lu Yin was here, but he still attacked De Heng because Lu Yin had just told him to give him a chance to prove his innocence. The real goal of this situation was Tian Fa. De Heng, Luo Shan, Second Anima, the 100 Martial Universe, and the other experts who had been lured here were all pawns in the game. Although there had been an accident, the general direction had not changed. The general direction had changed. Lu Yin looked at the man and woman who had remained calm throughout. They wanted to tear through the void and leave. Others could leave, but they could not. As he thought about it, Lu Yin attacked. An infinite inner world appeared and the lines of power collided. When things reached an extreme, they would move in the opposite direction. He aimed a punch at the man and woman. This punch shook the heavens and the earth, causing the entire space-time to roar. It shocked everyone in the plaza who had attacked. The man and woman looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin's punch was so powerful that even sequence law powerhouses would find it difficult to take it head-on. At the very least, it had frightened a Heng and Luo Shan. However, the man met Lu Yin's punch head-on. Lu Yin's punch suddenly changed direction and blasted towards the ground. Lu Yin's eyes widened. Di Qiong. This move was Di Qiong's sequence law, under the dome. Lu Yin had not understood why so many people's attacks had all missed when they approached Di Qiong and landed at his feet. Later he learned that it was because of Di Qiong's sequence law, under the dome. As long as his sequence law could not be broken, all attacks would only appear at his feet. Lu Yin had guessed that the Eternals would send powerhouses, but most of them should not have come. Although Lu Yin's plan was targeted at Tian Fa, if one or two of the Eternals were lured here, they might be able to join forces and deal damage to the Eternals and Tian Fa. Since Di Qiong had appeared, then, an arrow pierced through the air and shot towards Lu Yin. It was indeed her, the archer god. Not bad. Di Qiong, the archer god, and the three masters in Lu Hao are here. Aren't you afraid of being surrounded? Lu Yin dodged the arrow. The arrow was not fast and did not seem to be very powerful. However, he knew that it would be harder to dodge the arrow as it went on. Even someone as strong as Heavenly Master Dou Xing would be riddled with holes every time he faced the archer god. Di Qiong looked up. Lu Yin, do you really want to leave us here? What makes you think you can leave us here and plot against Tian Fa? Lu Yin stared at Di Qiong. There are many powerhouses in the Above Heaven sect. End of chapter. Chapter 3190. Di Qiong sneered and turned to Second Kindness. Help us fight. After this battle you will be friends with the Everlasting Tribe. We will take care of the Above Sky sect's pursuit. You've been running rampant in the universe for so many years, so I'll only tell you one thing. Now it's the third commandment. Second Kindness' expression changed. The third commandment? Second Gu and Second Meng were confused. What was the third commandment? Di Qiong's lips curled up. So you do know. Second Kindness shouted without hesitation. Brother, we agree to the Everlasting Tribe's conditions. Alright, we'll listen to you. Everlasting Tribe, what do you think we should do? But before that we need to save our third brother, Second Gu shouted. Second Meng frowned but didn't refute. The five of them were united in life and death. Lu Yin's eyes flashed coldly. You only know one thing but not the other. You've betrayed your own kind. You deserve to die. He hadn't expected Second Life to betray the humans, but it didn't matter. Di Qiong and the others couldn't hope to do anything to the Above Sky sect in this battle. They were only using Second Life to protect themselves. Lu Yin didn't plan on killing Di Qiong and the archer god either. Divine punishment was about to arrive and there wasn't enough time. Compared to Di Qiong and the archer god, the real threat was still divine punishment. The archer god raised his arrow, aimed at the Emperor card and fired. Di Qiong shouted, Second Life, kill that young man. He was obviously referring to Lu Yin. Second Gu and Second Meng both looked at Lu Yin and attacked at the same time. One pulled out a skeleton from his body, causing it to crack open and form a human skeleton. The other rushed towards Lu Yin from behind. Lu Yin's expression was cold. They deserved to die. He clenched his fist and punched out once more. This time only the Second Life, Di Qiong and the archer god were in that direction. The void cracked under the force of the punch. The humanoid skeleton beside the second bone hurriedly stepped forward to block Lu Yin's punch. Second Mo followed closely behind, revolving the sequence laws around her. She raised her fist and punched out. She had copied Lu Yin's battle technique and she wanted to return the punch. However, when she raised her fist, her arm was torn apart and blood splattered everywhere. Second sister. Second Gu was shocked. The human skeleton in front of him was shattering inch by inch. Lu Yin's punch was too powerful and he couldn't withstand it. Second Meng was shocked. I can't copy this monster's power. As soon as he finished speaking, both of them were sent flying backward by Lu Yin's punch. Blood flowed out of their wounds as they flew toward Di Qiong. Di Qiong's eyes turned cold. He was astonished by Lu Yin's strength, but the two of them were still masters of the sequence laws. Even if they worked together, they still couldn't withstand a single punch from Lu Yin. Boom. Second Gu and Second Meng fell not far away from Di Qiong and the others. They coughed up blood again and their faces were pale. Lu Yin stared at Di Qiong and Archer God. On the high platform, Heng and Luo Shan attacked the Heavenly King card at the same time because it was the closest to the beast's skin. On the high platform behind the statue, Elder Zen watched quietly. He was powerless to do anything about the battle below. After all, he was not a sequence law adept. As for Bai Ni and the other four, it was even more impossible for them to make a move. It was already not bad that they didn't leave. Di Qiong pointed his spear at Lu Yin and said, "It's been so long, but the experts from the above heaven sector still not here. Tian Fa should be here soon. I'm really curious about how you plan to deal with Tian Fa, but I don't have time to play with you. Lu Yin, go to the third region of calamity and take Wu Tian away if you can." A stargate appeared beside him and he was about to leave. No matter what, if they were surrounded by the experts from the above heaven sect, they would be in trouble. Since Lu Yin dared to deal with Tian Fa here, it meant that he had a backup plan. They didn't want to be killed by this backup plan and take Tian Fa's place. Lu Yin used the reverse step and rushed towards Di Qiong. Pages of paper appeared around Di Qiong, and they were his ancestral world's martial god manual. Lu Yin's reverse step came to an abrupt halt as he had been stopped by the martial god manual. Di Qiong raised his spear and smashed it towards Lu Yin, piercing through the void. Lu Yin visualized the land where his heart was and released the starry sky at the same time. The land and the visualized land overlapped, and the plaza instantly darkened. Di Qiong looked up and narrowed his eyes. Scope. Suddenly, a ray of light shot towards him. He turned around and waved his hand to break it. It was a spear. Was it his own spear? He looked in that direction and saw that it was Second Meng. The two human-shaped skeletons beside Second Bone rushed towards Di Qiong. "Don't even think about leaving. Second Life, you're crazy," Di Qiong shouted. Second Kindness shouted from afar, "Master Lu, I know it's you. We won't help the Eternals. We're humans after all. What do you want us to do now?" Lu Yin frowned. What was Second Life thinking? The weak had their own methods of survival. In the past, Lu Yin had been forced by the Day-Night clan to use the Third Night King's trail to keep the Day-Night clan in suspense so that they would not act against him. Second Life was doing the same thing. They had agreed to help the Eternals because they wanted to find out who the card that had taken away Second Gang belonged to. If it belonged to the Eternals, then they would help them deal with Lu Yin. If it belonged to Lu Yin, then they would pretend to help the Eternals, but in reality they would get close to the Eternals and attack them to show their loyalty. They knew that it was impossible to bring Second Gang out. Whether or not Second Gang could survive depended on the person who had taken him away. The arrow god of the Eternals had attacked the card, which meant that Second Gang was on Lu Yin's side. They would naturally attack the Eternals as well. Being able to see the situation clearly without taking a side was how Second Life had survived. Although it was complicated, Lu Yin still understood that Second Life was evil and deserved to die. It was like a bug that lived in a dark corner, but even bugs had their own way of survival. "No need. Let them go," Lu Yin said. He could sense that Tianfa was about to arrive. He pressed down with a single hand and the land collapsed. Di Qiong and the arrow god entered the astral door and left. The land suppressed the entire plaza, and Elder Chan and the others hurriedly left the platform. Otherwise they would be the first to be suppressed. Heng was shocked by this power. "We can't wait any longer." "Oh snatch." A shadow appeared on Heng's shoulder and knocked away the Emperor card. Luo Shan's sovereign aura had no effect on the shadow. The shadow was the Star Toad. Heng needed to go to the Mirage Domain to find the stone, and the Star Toad had instructed him to go there. He had heard of an ancient legend that the Mirage Domain had a path to immortality. However, it knew nothing about the Mirage Domain. A long time ago it was very close to the Mirage Domain, but it could only watch helplessly as the Mirage Domain was snatched away by the human ancestors and fixed in the origin space. Those people were rascals. The Mirage Domain belonged to the entire universe and should not belong to a certain group. However, those rascals snatched it away just like that, and it did not have the chance to enter for many years. Now the opportunity was right in front of him and the stone was real. Although this auction seemed like a trap, even if it was, he still had to enter. Even if there was a 1 in a million chance, it was still a chance. Furthermore, he was confident that there were few in the universe who could harm him, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Heng was shocked. "This is a trap, my lord. The stone and beast skin are fake." "They're fake." The Star Toad grabbed the beast skin and stone, and his eyes widened when he looked at them. Fake? Was it real or fake? Lu Yin looked up. Tianfa was here. He looked at the Heavenly King card and Great Elder Dan Gu walked out from it. He tore through the void, opened his hand and crushed the stone. Far away from the plaza, a blood-red liquid descended and rushed towards the plaza. Tianfa arrived at the plaza just in time to see Great Elder Dan Gu tear through the void and leave. The Star Toad was the closest, and when he saw Great Elder Dan Gu's actions his eyes blazed. It's real. It's the Mirage Domain. Wait for me. He rushed in immediately. Deheng was excited. It was really the Mirage Domain. Lu Yin had used the Mirage Domain as a trap, which was a huge price to pay. He rushed in as well. Luo Shan hesitated and turned to leave. Lu Yin took a step forward and rushed in. Second Gu rushed in without hesitation. Third brother, wait for us. Second Meng and Second Shan rushed in together. Tianfa sped up and rushed in as well. It would not let Great Elder Dan Gu go. Just as the void crack was about to disappear, a figure rushed in from the corner. It was also a woman. Her name was Second Violet. After the second purple immortal entered the spatial rift, the spatial rift disappeared. The plaza quieted down. Aside from Elder Chan by Ni and a few others, there was no one else. Of course, there were also corpses all over the ground. The river of time flowed. How many years had passed? How many seasons had passed? Everyone who entered the Mirage Domain would refresh the time node of the Mirage Domain. Great Elder Dan Gu fell down with the Heavenly King card on his head. Because the void was torn, the surrounding time fog would be pushed away in an instant. Therefore, those who had just entered the Mirage Domain would not touch the fog for a while as long as they did not move. Great Elder Dan Gu knew how terrifying the fog was, but he still rushed in resolutely because he had Hongyan Mavis's grass with him. The second to drop was naturally the Star Toad. At this moment the Star Toad was very small and was only the size of a palm. It hugged the beast's skin like a toy. After falling into the Mirage Domain, it saw the river of time flowing beside it and the bamboo forest in the distance. It was excited. Mirage Domain. This is the Mirage Domain. This is a great deal. I've finally come to the Mirage Domain. It stared at Great Elder Dan Gu. Come here. At this moment, Deheng came out of the void crack and smashed at the Star Toad. The Star Toad was disgusted and threw him out. He fell not far away, but this was the Mirage Domain, which was filled with time fog. Although the place where Deheng fell was not far away, there was still fog. He let out a horrible scream which was extremely terrifying and gave the Star Toad a fright. The Star Toad and Dan Gu both looked at Deheng. At the same time Second Gu, Second Meng and Second Kindness all fell. They were lucky and did not hit the Star Toad, but they were only a few meters away from it. As soon as they fell they heard Deheng scream. They looked over and saw a scene that they would never forget in their lives. Deheng's entire body kept changing. Some were old, some were young, some were withered and some were glossy. Deheng was a sequence law powerhouse. He released sequence particles to resist the surrounding fog and crawled into a place without fog with difficulty. At this moment his abdomen had become a skeleton which made people's scalps tingle. Chapter 3191. Deheng trembled and stared at his skeletal abdomen. He wouldn't die, but it would take some time for him to recover. What happened to him? Second Meng was stunned. Lu Yin fell and walked into the mist calmly. The next moment Tianfa entered. Mirage Domain? In the end Second Purple fell and Second Bone hurriedly pulled Second Purple over with White Bone. Otherwise, Second Purple would have smashed into the Star Toad's head. Although they didn't know the Star Toad, they sensed danger from it. The Mirage Domain was no longer quiet. The mist moved slowly, which made Second Bone and the others wary. They kept moving toward the empty space. The Star Toad wasn't too afraid. It understood that this was the time of mist transformation. The power of time wasn't unfamiliar to an expert like it who had crossed the bitter calamity. Could resist it. However, Deheng was terrified. Lu Yin and Grand Elder Dan Gu stood in the mist, looking very conspicuous. Tianfa said in a low voice, "Dao Lord Lu, do you think entering the Mirage Domain will allow this person to escape from me?" No one can escape from Tianfa. The Star Toad looked up in shock. Protector of the Four Directions, Tianfa? You're here too? In the first Calamity Domain it had seen Butterfly Grace. Now that it saw Tianfa in the blood-red liquid, it was even more wary. Tianfa's blood-red liquid moved and seemed to be looking at the Star Toad. "We've met before." The Star Toad grinned, revealing a fawning smile. He swung his lotus leaf and said, "Yes, I've seen you before. You go about your business, don't worry about me." Lu Yin looked at the Star Toad. "Star Toad, didn't we agree to deal with Tianfa in the Mirage Domain? The price for hiring you is to let you enter the Mirage Domain." Tianfa's killing intent surged, filling the Mirage Domain with blood. Second Bone and the others felt their hair stand on end. They tried their best not to make a sound. They knew very well that the people in front of them were all terrifying existences. Although Master Lu hadn't reached the supreme level yet, his strength was quite abnormal. The Star Toad screamed, "Lu Yin, don't talk nonsense. When did you hire me to deal with Tianfa?" "That's Tianfa. You want to deal with the protectors of the four directions? Are you crazy?" Lu Yin's lips curled up. "Stop pretending, Tianfa won't trust you. You want to sneak up on me? No way. Fight openly." With that, he turned to Heavenly Punishment. "You protectors of the four directions have repeatedly caused trouble for the Above Heaven sect. Do you really think I don't know that you're helping the Eternals? Once I get rid of you, Heavenly Punishment will be next. You want to deal with the Guardians of the Four Directions? Do you know how messy this universe would be without us?" Divine Punishment's voice was getting lower and lower. "Human, you don't know what's good for you. Without us, you wouldn't have a stable living space. We've sacrificed so much for this universe. We've been stabilizing this universe and blocking the strong enemies from the outside. Is this your reason for attacking the primogenitor?" Lu Yin barked. The Star Toad was astonished. The Guardian Envoys were going to deal with the human ancestors? Heavenly Punishment was silent for a moment. "The human race isn't stable. Tai Chu actually fixed the Mirage Domain in this universe. We've warned him, but he still does as he pleases and acts recklessly. If we allow him to do as he pleases, this universe will be connected to other universes one day. Our years of hard work will then be for nothing. This is for the greater good of the universe. The human race is a selfish race that is filled with violence. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This race cannot expand too quickly and cannot dominate the universe. Taichu is like that. We hope that you won't follow in his footsteps." Lu Yin looked up and took a deep breath. He laughed, but his laughter was filled with mockery. "The greater good of the universe. Does this mean that if I bring the Above Heaven sect back to the primogenitor's glory one day, you'll also attack me?" Heavenly Punishment spoke up. "As long as you don't destroy the stability of the universe, we won't attack you. We don't target any creature. The human race is too unstable, so we pay more attention to it. However, if you're different from Tai Chu and we can see that, you can continue to exist. What if I bring the human race to the point where it can truly dominate this universe?" Lu Yin asked. Heavenly Punishment paused. "One of the duties of the Four Protectors is to expel creatures that don't belong to this universe. Another is to stabilize this universe and the human race." "Race my ass." Lu Yin punched at Heavenly Punishment. An endless inner world appeared and the lines of power collided. When things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. The punch blasted toward Divine Punishment. The mountain of blades in front of Divine Punishment was shattered by the power of the punch, but it also blocked the power of the punch. "Attacking us? It seems that you're the same type of person as Tai Chu. In that case, the Above Heaven sect will have a new master." Heavenly Punishment attacked and the blades extended endlessly. At the same time, Lu Yin couldn't move. The void was like a chain that forced Lu Yin to endure the attack. Lu Yin clenched his fist. When things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. At the same time, the battle force of the Palm Realm covered the surrounding void, causing it to crack. Great Elder Shangu attacked. "Heaven and Earth Mystic King, please use the indestructible hand." A huge hand broke through the void and grabbed at Heavenly Punishment. A spear appeared in front of Heavenly Punishment. Heavenly Spear. Even Lu Yuan would find it difficult to break free from the chains of time, let alone Shangu. The spear broke through the indestructible hand and turned towards Great Elder Shangu. The Star Toad watched from the side, unable to interfere. These were the protectors of the Four Protectors, and if one was provoked for would come. From what it had heard, Tai Chu had been killed by them. It was no wonder that the Eternals had been able to silently invade the First Mainland. It knew very well how powerful Tai Chu was, but even he had been killed. It didn't want to provoke four primordial realm powerhouses. Second Bone and the others waited quietly in the distance, waiting for the outcome of this battle. Hongyan Mavis walked out of Mount Supreme beside Lu Yin. She was the only expert that Lu Yin had brought to the Mirage to deal with heavenly punishment. If they had to deal with heavenly punishment, they had to be on guard against the Eternals as well. Lu Yuan had stayed behind to deal with the ancient gods and prevent the Eternals from attacking the Above Heaven sect. Hongyan Mavis naturally wasn't enough to deal with heavenly punishment. The true choice was the Star Toad. Lu Yin had set up the Mirage to lure the Star Toad over. Without the Star Toad, they had no one to deal with heavenly punishment. Hongyan Mavis punched the sky split. It's time to settle Master's grudge today. Taichu deserves to die. He went against the rules of the universe, and you disciples shouldn't have stayed either. Since you attacked us, we'll destroy the Above Heaven sect once we get out. From now on, the Above Heaven sect will no longer exist in this universe. Let's talk about that after you get out alive. Hongyan Mavis was incomparably powerful. She raised her fist, and her power formed a terrifying rumbling sound, causing the Mirage domain to tremble. Second Bone and the others watched with trepidation. If they were hit by this fist, they would definitely die. The power of Hongyan Mavis' punch was earth-shattering, but heavenly punishment had no intention of dodging it. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. However, the punch actually disappeared as it approached heavenly punishment. Hongyan Mavis was confused. How could this be? No one could understand, not even the Star Toad. However, it was certain that heavenly punishment had used a sequence law. There were countless sequence laws in the universe, and what one could comprehend depended on the individual. As for what heavenly punishment's law was, it was something that needed to be explored. Countless blades slashed towards Hongyan Mavis from below. The void chains that bound Lu Yin suddenly snapped, and he twisted his wrist to release the starry sky in his heart. He visualized the land and reassembled it. At the same time, the wordless heavenly book appeared, and golden light filled the Mirage, bringing with it the power of life that pressed down on heavenly punishment. Heavenly punishment was astonished. Taichu's power. That's the primordial space's recognition. As the land pressed down, countless blades bloomed beside heavenly punishment like lotuses, slashing towards the land above. The endless blades continuously whittled away at the land. Back then, Fengbua had used his pagoda-shaped sword to resist, but heavenly punishment had used her blades to resist. Even a primordial realm expert could not ignore the destructive power of the seven sky gods. A primordial realm expert could create a huge gap between himself and a progenitor, but it could also be the same. An increase in realm did not necessarily mean that one's battle prowess would increase. A primordial realm expert could prevent the laws from approaching them. If Lu Yin could do this with the laws of the sequence, then his threat to heavenly punishment would be greatly reduced. However, he relied on his own strength and did not have the laws of the sequence. As a result, his threat to heavenly punishment was no different from Hongyan Mavis and the other three realms' six paths. Star Toad, what are you waiting for? Lu Yin barked. Star Toad was startled. Don't spout nonsense, Lu Yin. Why would I help you deal with the four protectors? I'm friends with them. I'll hire you. I won't do business that's guaranteed to lose. You don't want to reach the eternal realm? Lu Yin's words attracted heavenly punishment's attention. The eternal realm was a legendary realm that no one in the universe had ever stepped foot into, including the strongest person in history, Taichu. Star Toad was stunned. What did you say? The eternal realm? You think you're worthy of mentioning it? You're just a half-progenitor. What about me? Hongyan Mavis stared at Star Toad. I've been here for countless years. You could say that I've been here since the second continent shattered and explored this place thoroughly. If not for the ancestral world being taken away by the Eternals, I would have broken through long ago. Let me tell you, the path to eternal life is in this mirage. Star Toad raised its lotus leaf and stomped its foot. Do you think I'm an idiot? If there's the eternal realm, why isn't Taichu? Do you really think I'm stupid? I'm a businessman, the type that's guaranteed to make a profit. Hongyan Mavis countered the countless blades as she spoke to the Star Toad. That is not a path that humans should take. Before our civilization appeared in this universe, there was more than one civilization that existed here. That is a path that other species should take. We humans cannot take it. You are not a human. Who are you scolding? No, I'm not human to begin with. Are you serious? The Star Toad hesitated. It was sure that the Mirage Domain had a path to immortality. If one were to ask who understood the Mirage Domain the most, it would be Absolute Beginning and the others. Absolute Beginning and the others had fixed the Mirage domain in the primordial space, which was absolutely shameless. Even the Guardian envoys couldn't stand it. Why did Destiny cultivate again? You should have heard that she was the one who discovered that path. Otherwise, with her talent, she would have broken through long ago. It's not like you don't know that she's the most talented among us, Hongyan Mavis tempted. End of chapter. Chapter 3192. The star toad gritted its teeth after hearing Hongyan Mavis' words. It thought for a moment and then looked at the people under the endless blades, but it still refused. Don't try to tempt me. I'm definitely good friends with the four protectors, the kind that can even be sworn brothers. We don't even know how to do business, so why would I help you? What a joke. Hongyan Mavis sneered. Then you can look for it yourself. There are forbidden areas in the Mirage domain, and even our master doesn't dare to step in. If you step in, you will either die or be crippled. If you want to explore them one by one, I guarantee that you will be a dead toad before you find the path to immortality. The star toad was furious. You're the toad. Just a toad, Lu Yin mocked, using the Grand Empyrean's words. These words completely enraged the star toad. It recalled how it was trampled under the feet of a Grand Empyrean in the Second Calamity region, how it had participated in the battle with Lu Yuan and the others. Just thinking about this made it feel sullen and angry. It couldn't wait to break through to the Eternal Realm. At that time it would kill all of these fellows. Hold on, it smiled slyly. You humans will allow me to break through to the Eternal Realm? What a joke, aren't you afraid that I'll break through? Hongyan Mavis said, there are limits to the Eternal Realm. Although you're invincible, you won't be able to attack us easily. Of course we won't attack you either. There are no absolute limits in the universe. The star toad fell into deep thought. It made sense. Lu Yin felt strange. These were the words of the primogenitor, but Hongyan Mavis was very good at using them. She had said them to him before, and now she was saying them to the star toad. The higher one's realm was, the more they would believe such words. Tianfa's voice suddenly rang out. Even if you're on the right path, we'll make sure that you have nowhere else to go. The star toad was horrified. Tianfa's threat made its entire body turn cold. Right, so what if it found the path to eternal life? The four protectors would attack it, and it would be killed before it could reach eternal life. It shook its leaf and glared angrily at Lu Yin and Hongyan Mavis. Lu Yin, Kai Hong, don't even think about tempting me. I'm the best friend of the four protectors and I'm firmly on their side to protect the universe. I'm the future fifth protector. Second Meng and Second Purple looked at each other and saw the strange look in each other's eyes. They were also trying their best to hold back their laughter. They saw a toad jumping around and squawking. It was even swinging its lotus leaves. That scene actually diluted their fear of this unknown place. Only Second Kindness looked at the toad with fear in his eyes. This toad was terrifying. Lu Yin sighed. Star Toad, do you really think that Sky Law can leave this place alive? The protectors of the four directions can also die. Shut up. You are not allowed to insult my friend. The star toad roared. The star toad shouted fiercely, but it had no intention of attacking at all. It simply allowed Tianfa and Lu Yin's group to exhaust each other. The star toad only wanted to stay as far away as possible. It didn't want to help Lu Yin's group, but it also didn't want to help Tianfa. Lu Yin shook his head. If even eternal life can't move you, then what about this? As he spoke, Lu Yin stepped backwards and dodged the blade. He then took out a pitchfork from his cosmic ring and threw it to the ground. The pitchfork stabbed into the ground and waved in front of the star toad. The star toad looked at the pitchfork with confusion, but then its eyes turned red. It finally roared in anger. Where did you get my discarded weapon? Lu Yin sneered. Do you really think that we can't find your nest? Deheng gave you a stone, right? Why do you think I gave it to him? This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The star toad glared at Deheng. Deheng was stunned. What did this have to do with him? Lu Yin had schemed against Deheng and sent him to the endless battlefield. That incident had nothing to do with the star toad, but he had schemed against both Luo Shan and Deheng. In the end, he had given Deheng a stone to appease him. This was because Lu Yin had given Deheng a stone of his own, and it didn't matter since the stones needed to be pieced together to find the way to the Mirage domain. However, Lu Yin had learned the real way to enter the Mirage domain from He Wuxian. He wanted to drag the star toad in to deal with Tianfa, but he also needed to think of a way to force the star toad to help him deal with Tianfa. At this time he thought of the stone fragment that he had given to Heng. Stones were naturally formed in the universe, and because they had been broken, every stone had a different shape. Lu Yin used the compass to think of the stone that he had given to Heng and found the star toad's nest. He was lucky that De Heng had given the stone to the star toad, or else he wouldn't have been able to find it. This was the most important step in his scheme against the star toad. The star toad was too cunning, and after living for so long, it knew everything. Lu Yin knew from the way it had treated Tianan the butterfly in the first calamity domain that he couldn't force it to do anything. Now he wanted to destroy its nest and take all of its treasures. This was the most important step in forcing the star toad to help him. Of course, there was no guarantee that he would succeed. It all depended on how much the star toad cared about its treasures. Even if he failed, it didn't matter. He could just leave the mirage and think of another way to deal with the guardians. The guardians were like mountains that couldn't be bypassed. If he didn't deal with them, he would never be able to deal with the Eternals. Even if he had to face both the guardians and the Eternals at the same time, Lu Yin didn't hesitate to take a gamble. This was the only way to deal with Tianfa. There was only one chance to surround and kill Tianfa. There were many times when cultivators needed to take risks, and Lu Yin was no exception. Every level had its own dangers, and the guardians had to be dealt with. They were dissatisfied with the humans, and they had plotted against the progenitors, killed the desolate ancestor, and forced the humans to stop the war. Lu Yin couldn't forgive them for their actions. This was an encirclement, and Lu Yin was prepared for an all-out war with the guardians. Lu Yuan and the others were also prepared. The humans would face many difficulties, but they would eventually overcome them. The star toad went crazy when it saw the pitchfork. Its nostrils flared and its body turned multicolored. With the pitchfork in its hand and the skull around its neck, it leapt towards Lu Yin. "You thief." Lu Yin's eyes narrowed as he stared at the star toad. "I'm going to sell your collection for cheap. This is the worst deal you've ever made in your life. I want you dead." The star toad's body suddenly expanded, and it gripped its pitchfork tightly as it stabbed towards Lu Yin. Hongyan Mavis clenched her fist, and the trees on the ground grew rapidly to block the star toad's path. The star toad's pitchfork pierced through the trees and stabbed towards Lu Yin. "You failed. Retreat," Hongyan Mavis shouted. Lu Yin stared at the star toad, and the star toad stared back at him. Its eyes were unprecedentedly fierce and emotionless. It was clearly a wild beast that had gone berserk. The pitchfork brushed past Lu Yin's scalp, drawing a line of blood. Elder Shangu was shocked. "Headmaster." Lu Yin could feel the chilling murderous intent from the pitchfork, but it wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at the endless blades behind him. Tianfa. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The star toad was finally convinced. Or rather, in its stubbornness, its collection was more important than the path to immortality. Lu Yin had made the right bet. The star toad was trying to survive bitter adversity. Bitter adversity was the toad's stubbornness towards its business gains. It would never give up no matter what happened, and this was the star toad's greatest obstacle. The Grand Empyrean wanted to kill the only true god in bitter adversity. The star toad had to complete every single transaction perfectly in order to survive this ordeal. It had been willing to give up on Lu Yin's last-minute price increases to deal with the Eternals rather than betray the integrity of its business. This was its ordeal, and it had been trying to survive it all this time. Compared to the illusory path to immortality, surviving bitter adversity on its own was more realistic. It had been through this bitter adversity for far, far too many years. Even if all of the protectors were here and Lu Yin was holding them hostage, it would still take action, let alone Tianfa. This was a creature's instinct. The multicolored star toad raised its pitchfork and stabbed at Tianfa. This was something that even Tianfa hadn't expected. Despite the endless blades blocking its path, the pitchfork still managed to pierce through the blood-red liquid, tearing through the void and shattering everything in its path. The other end of the pitchfork emerged from the blood-red liquid. Lu Yin, Hongyan Mavis, Elder Dangu and Second Anima were all watching. A spear of heaven appeared in front of Tianfa and stabbed towards the star toad. "You're courting death." The star toad's eyes turned sinister. "Friend, don't blame me. I have no other choice." It slapped the end of the pitchfork, causing it to sweep forward and break the spear of heaven. The star toad quickly retreated but found that it couldn't move. Tianfa had used time chains to imprison it. The star toad was horrified. "What the hell?" Hongyan Mavis stepped on the star toad's head and punched at Tianfa. The terrifying punch landed outside the blood-red liquid, but it was still ineffective. The spear of heaven and the blade of earth appeared at the same time. The spear and blade intersected and overlapped, forming something that resembled both a spear and a blade as it stabbed towards Hongyan Mavis, the star toad, and Lu Yin. The void around Hongyan Mavis distorted as a large tree rose from the ground to block her front. It was the Mavis divine tree, and the imprint on it glowed brightly. The overlapping spear and blade stabbed into the Mavis divine tree in an attempt to penetrate it. Blood flowed from the corner of Hongyan Mavis' mouth as she forcefully used the divine tree to suppress the spear and blade. The light in the sky dimmed as the land pressed down. Lu Yin had taken action to suppress Tianfa. "Do you really think you can reverse Tianfa?" Tianfa's voice was low as it allowed the land to fall. In the end it landed on top of Tianfa, but it didn't harm it at all. It's a sequence law. It's in the primordial realm, so the laws can't get close to it. However, the sequence law it controls is extremely powerful. Hongyan Mavis gritted her teeth. Their attacks had all been nullified by Tianfa's sequence law. Even now, they still didn't know what kind of sequence law Tianfa possessed. With a thump, the star toad finally broke free from the time chains. It was only because the spear and blade had been trapped by the Mavis divine tree that it would have been unable to break free. With a strange cry, the star toad raised its hand and the pitchfork returned to its hand. It then viciously charged at Tianfa and stabbed down, causing the void to tremble. The shockwave spread out and turned into a sharp aura that seemed like the end of the world. The second Bones group was shocked and they hurriedly blocked the attack. De Heng was bitter. He was getting closer and closer to death in such a battlefield. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 3193. The star toad was the only one present who could harm Sky's law. Since it was trying to survive bitter adversity, it could not get close to Sky's law, so Sky's law was ineffective against it. Of course, its law was ineffective against Sky's law as well. This was exactly what Lu Yin wanted. At the very least, he wanted to ensure that someone could harm Sky's law. Otherwise, Sky's law would be invincible, so how could they fight? The pitchfork stabbed into the blood-red liquid once more, causing the star toad to squeal and twist its pitchfork. Hongyan Mavis coughed up blood as the spear and blade pierced through the Mavis divine tree, causing her great damage. Endless War King, Slaughter Form. A blood-red figure emerged from the Sky Emperor card and charged towards Sky's law. Lu Yin raised his hand and pressed down, using the same technique to suppress the land. This was his strongest technique, and if it could not harm the star toad, then his other techniques would not be able to do the same. The blood-red figure, Slaughter Form, and the falling land caused Sky's law to become even more bloody. The star toad pulled its pitchfork out and fled, having a bad feeling about this. The next moment, an endless blood-red light swept out in all directions, forming a law that was almost visible to the naked eye. Lu Yin had only seen this level of law from the Grand Empyreans before, and he could still see it even without his celestial eye. The blood-red light burned the void as the Sky Emperor card's Slaughter Form, the land above and the Mavis divine tree all disappeared. Hongyan Mavis landed and took several steps back, her face pale. This monster had such a terrifying law that she would not be able to resist without breaking through to the primordial realm. The star toad cried out, "Even I don't have that many law. These fellows really haven't lived all those years for nothing." The second Fates group was shocked. Such a majestic law made it hard for them to breathe, and they even had the urge to kneel. They were the second Fate's lawless members who had committed all sorts of crimes, but even they wanted to kneel and submit. This was the pressure that Sky's law had given them. Lu Yin suppressed his breathing. Against this law, even the star toad could not approach Sky's law. Sky's law cannot be defied. All creatures here must die. With that, Sky's spear and earthen blade appeared from the blood-red that filled the mirage domain, absorbing the boundless blood-red. Every single spear and earthen blade turned red, a bloody red. Previously there was only one heavenly spear, but now there were so many of them that they filled the sky. Every single heavenly spear had the power to pierce through the Mavis divine tree. The endless number of heavenly spears was simply terrifying. Second Bone couldn't take it anymore. "My lord, we didn't attack you. Please let us go." They were also surrounded by the Spear of Heaven and Blade of Earth. Unfortunately, Tianfa did not care about their lives at all. Sect Master, enter the Heavenly King card. Grand Elder Xiangu said in a low voice. Lu Yin stepped backwards and headed towards the Heavenly Emperor card with Hongyan Mavis right behind him. The Spear of Heaven and the Blade of Earth descended, sweeping across the entire Mirage domain. The Star Toad took out a lotus leaf and placed it on the surface of its body. Its body shrunk continuously and buried itself under the lotus leaf. Inside the Heavenly King card, Grand Elder Dangu clutched his chest and coughed up blood. In the outside world, the Heavenly Spear and Earthen Blade were constantly colliding with the Heavenly King card. If the Heavenly King card hadn't been upgraded to the level of an ancient card, it would have been broken long ago. Even so, he couldn't hold on for long. Deheng looked on helplessly as the Blade of Earth slashed towards him. He waved his hand and used the Law of Lightness to send a huge attack towards the Blade of Earth, but it was cut in half. Deheng himself was also cut in half, unable to resist at all. Second Bone, Second Kindness and Second Mo. The three of them pinned Second Purple beneath them, and Second Bone's avatar was also present. The Blade of Earth swept past and shattered the avatar, while Second Bone, Second Kindness and Second Mo were all killed at the same time. Their bodies were torn apart and their blood stained the ground. The lotus leaf on top of the Star Toad's head was exposed to the wind and rain, and it could shatter at any moment. The toad curled up under the leaf, not daring to raise its head. No one could withstand Tian Fa's attack, which was a world-ending punishment. After Deheng's second life and the others were all killed, the Spear of Heaven and Blade of Earth swept towards the Heavenly King card and continuously pierced it. The Heavenly King card cracked at a visible rate. Inside the card, Lu Yin and the others watched as the sky continued to crack. They could not hold on any longer. Second Gang was not too far away. He had wanted to resist Grand Elder Xiangu after entering, but he was only a progenitor and the difference was too great. He did not even dare to say a word. However, the cracking of the Heavenly King card made his scalp go numb. What was going on? Was the sky falling and the earth rending? Grand Elder Xiangu spat out a mouthful of blood and slowly knelt down in front of a statue. Junior Xiangu respectfully requests the Royal Regent to act. Greetings, Royal Regent. As soon as he finished speaking, Grand Elder Xiangu's entire body began to bleed. Lu Yin and Hongyan Mavis saw the statue move. No, a figure walked out from within the statue. His face could not be seen clearly and his hands were clasped behind his back. There seemed to be a scroll in his hands. Inside the Heavenly King card, the sky seemed to be restrained by something, and the Spear of Heaven and Blade of Earth that were attacking the Heavenly King card seemed to be trembling. The figure looked up at the sky. Above me there is no sky. There is only one person. There is no sky. As soon as he finished speaking, the sky suddenly darkened. At the same time, outside the Heavenly King card, the sky above the Mirage domain also darkened. Tian Fa's blood-red liquid suddenly boiled as it sensed an unparalleled power. The Spear of Heaven and Blade of Earth frantically retreated, forming a huge mountain range around the blood-red liquid. The Star Toad looked at Tian Fa through the lotus leaf. Why did the sky turn dark? What was that? It let out a strange cry and plunged into the ground, leaving only its buttocks behind. The world rumbled. Inside the Heavenly King card, Lu Yin and Hongyan Mavis also heard the rumbling. Grand Elder Xiangu fell to the ground and Lu Yin hurriedly supported him. Hongyan Mavis was shocked. What kind of powerhouse is this? If he doesn't let the sky be above him, then the foundation of this civilization is unimaginable. Lu Yin had already thought highly of the Lost Clan's civilization, but every time Grand Elder Xiangu revealed something, he realized that he had still underestimated them. Every time this happened, he would remember what Grand Elder Xiangu had said. There was an unimaginable senior in their civilization, and there was also an existence that they could not resist. The rumblings stopped and the darkness receded. Lu Yin looked at the statue in front of him and saw that it had returned to its original state. "The headmaster," Grand Elder Xiangu said weakly. Lu Yin hurriedly looked over. "Senior Xiangu, how are you?" Grand Elder Xiangu's face was pale. "Fortunately, I won't die. Headmaster Tian Fa is not easy to deal with. The Royal Regent is a top powerhouse and even if he doesn't die he will be severely injured." Hongyan Mavis hurriedly stepped out of her Heavenly Emperor card. Lu Yin looked deeply at Grand Elder Xiangu. "Senior, rest well." He then hurried back to the Mirage's domain. When Lu Yin returned to the Mirage's domain, there was grass everywhere. He was familiar with this scene as Hongyan Mavis had done the same thing to prevent Fengbo from escaping. This time, however, the target was Tianfa. Attack, he's not far from death. Hongyan Mavis shouted. Lu Yin looked into the distance and saw that Tianfa had shrunk by more than 10 times. It was now the size of a fist, and the earthen spear and spear of heaven and blade of earth were gone. He was frantically attacking the void in an attempt to escape. Lu Yin reversed his steps and punched at Tianfa. This was the first time Lu Yin had actually struck Tianfa with his fist. His fist felt warm, and the moment he made contact with it, he suddenly saw a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Lu Yin was stunned. What kind of scene was this? The fist-sized blood-red liquid was almost scattered by Lu Yin's punch, and Hongyan Mavis reached out to grab him. You really want to defy Tianfa? No one can defy Tianfa. You will pay a terrible price that is even more terrifying than death. Humanity will have no future. You're all finished. Tianfa roared. Hongyan Mavis slapped out with a huge force that sent Skylaw flying. Lu Yin checked the direction and used reverse step to appear in the direction that Skylaw had been sent flying. An endless amount of his inner world appeared, and the threads of power collided with each other. When things reached an extreme, they would move in the opposite direction. The closer Lu Yin got to Tianfa, the stranger he felt. When he punched out, Tianfa brushed past his fist and rushed into the distance. Lu Yin's punch was ineffective once again, but it was still a sequence law. Even if Tianfa only had a few particles left, Lu Yin's punch was still ineffective. Lu Yin also understood what was going on. It's acceleration. He stared in the direction that Tianfa had fled, and his lips curled up. Your sequence law is acceleration, but it's not speed. Instead, it accelerates the loss of your opponent's destructive power. If it takes a second for my punch to hit you, then let me finish it in less than 1/100th of a second. By the time my punch reaches you, it will have already lost its power. Acceleration is not for yourself but for others. It increases the speed of battle techniques. It's over. Having said that, Lu Yin once again stepped into reverse time and chased after Tianfa. Without a sequence law, Tianfa could not stop Lu Yin's time. Lu Yin looked down at Tianfa from above, opened his palm and pressed down. Land suddenly descended, and no matter how Tianfa tried to escape, it would be suppressed by the land as long as it could not escape the Mirage's domain. Even if it wanted to escape to the domain's forbidden area, it would not have enough time. Lu Yin's parallel time was enough to stop the flow of time. You humans have caused a disaster. Your race will be wiped out and you will lose the chance to continue your species. You will die a horrible death. The blood-red liquid was crushed by the land, and a mournful wail rang through the world. It was enough to make one's scalp tingle, and only after quite a while did the wail disappear. In the distance, the star toad poked its head out of a lotus leaf. It's over? Lu Yin panted heavily as he hovered in the air. Hongyan Mavis exhaled. It was over. The primordial realm experts and the 4 protectors had finally been killed. On the other side, Second Amethyst poked its head out from under Second Bone and the others' corpses, biting its lip as it breathed in the stench of blood. It had to be useful, it had to be useful. Hey, we won. You really are vicious to be able to kill the 4 protectors. I didn't even see anything. The star toad put away its lotus leaf with a pained expression and intentionally called out. It had nothing to do with Tianfa's death. Lu Yin looked at it. Thank you, Star Toad. Chapter 3194. Star Toad was startled by Lu Yin's gratitude and it glared at him. Hey, why are you thanking me? Don't be so courteous, you'll get me killed. No, it's none of my business whether I know or not. Hongyan Mavis smiled sincerely. If you hadn't forced Tianfa to use its laws, it would have been able to escape. I wouldn't have been able to stop it. You were the one who forced it and you were the only one who could hurt it. You didn't go easy on it. This was the truth. If it had only been Lu Yin and Hongyan Mavis, the two of them wouldn't have been able to force Tianfa into a corner, much less injure it. Although the decisive power had come from the regent, who had been invited by Elder Dan Gu wouldn't even have had the chance to ask the regent to help if it hadn't been for the Star Toad. Tianfa could have left the Mirage and Hongyan Mavis wouldn't have been able to stop it. The Star Toad shrieked, "Don't talk nonsense. How did I fight? It has nothing to do with me. Don't accuse me, it's wrong and immoral." Lu Yin was grateful. "Don't worry, I'll pay you." "Lu Yin, don't talk nonsense. What higher? You're crazy. What, you don't want your nest anymore? That's mine, not the price for hiring me. Then what price do you want? Just say it. I don't want it, I wasn't hired by you. You're even worse than Xianxia. Don't hurt me, I beg you, don't talk nonsense. You still don't want your nest. The star toad was desperate and it pointed its trident at Lu Yin. Kid, don't go too far. If you provoke me you won't have a good time. I'm Ku Ai and even you and Kai Hong together can't beat me. Hongyan Mavis was displeased. It's just a toad. The star toad went berserk, charging at Hongyan Mavis with its trident. Lu Yin shook his head. It was impossible for the star toad to escape. Ignoring the threat it posed to Tianfa, even moving its trident would count as participating in the battle. How could he let it escape? Hongyan Mavis disdainfully. Hongyan Mavis was disdainful. The star toad wasn't weak, but even if she didn't use the sequence laws, she would still be able to defeat it. Suddenly the fog stopped. The wind stopped. The river of time seemed to have stopped as well. The entire mirage domain changed, becoming like a painting. Everything was still and only Lu Yin and the others could move. The star toad froze in midair. Its mouth slowly opened as it stared blankly into the distance. Hongyan Mavis slowly turned around and saw heavenly punishment, which was originally supposed to be scattered. The blood-colored liquid actually gathered from all directions and condensed together to form a person, a blood-colored silhouette. Lu Yin saw it as well and he stared at it blankly. No way, it hasn't been resolved yet? Primordial Realm. That should not be the case. It was not impossible to kill Primordial Realm experts, so why was Tian Fa still alive? He subconsciously wanted to make a move, but he found that even though he could move, his speed was very slow, as if he was trapped by countless ropes. It was very difficult. Hongyan Mavis clenched her fist and wanted to punch the bloody figure, but the movement of her fist seemed to have slowed down by 10,000 times. The star toad hugged its pitchfork and wanted to flee. Damn it, it had seen a Primordial Realm expert die before. Primordial Realm experts were not immortal, and even though their realm surpassed the progenitor realm, their battle prowess still depended on the being that had broken through to the Primordial Realm. The path did not mean invincibility or immortality, so why was heavenly punishment still alive? Couldn't win, it definitely couldn't win. It was over and it decided to stay in the mirage domain for the rest of its life. The bloody figure slowly condensed, and it raised its hands to take a look before moving its legs and twisting its neck. It seemed very unfamiliar. In front of him, although Hongyan Mavis' punches were slow, it was obvious that she was going to punch. The bloody figure stared at Hongyan Mavis and Hongyan Mavis stared back at him. The bloody figure smiled and raised his hand, condensing a strange blood-red sword. There was a blurry image on the hilt that couldn't be seen clearly. He took a step forward and instantly shot past Hongyan Mavis, leaving a trail of blood behind him as he landed on the ground. Hongyan Mavis was powerless. She lowered her head and saw that a huge wound had appeared on her body from bottom to top. One strike, just one strike, and Hongyan Mavis had been heavily injured. She couldn't even resist. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Impossible. That was Hongyan Mavis, one of the 6 Daoists of the 3 realms. She could rival ancestor Lu Yuan and Gu Yizhi before they broke through to the Primordial Realm. How could she be heavily injured by a single strike? However, there was nothing impossible about what had just happened. It was as if the entire mirage domain had been frozen. Was heavenly punishment really that invincible? The blood-red figure swept past Hongyan Mavis. After slashing at her, it seemed to be a little confused. It looked at the blood-red sword before looking back at Hongyan Mavis. It waved its hand and slashed again. This time the sword slashed horizontally, leaving a huge horizontal wound on Hongyan Mavis' back. No one could fight back and Hongyan Mavis' movements were ridiculously slow. Lu Yin's eyes widened as he watched the bloody figure raise his sword for the 3rd time and slash down. Then came the 4th and 5th strike. He growled, "Stop." The bloody figure turned to look at Lu Yin. As for Hongyan Mavis, she collapsed. She had been slashed 5 times and had almost been torn apart. The moment she fell to the ground, she couldn't believe it. How could someone be so strong? Even against her master, she shouldn't have been so powerless. Who was this? This was beyond their imagination, and it definitely wasn't heavenly punishment. This was a powerhouse that they didn't recognize. It was over. They hadn't expected such an existence to appear. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have attacked heavenly punishment, but it was too late now. Nothing could be perfect. Lu Yin had set up a trap to kill heavenly punishment, and regardless of whether he won or lost, he had thought of a way out. However, he hadn't expected such an existence to appear after he won. At this moment, even if Ancestor Lu Yuan and a Grand Empyrean were here, they probably wouldn't be able to stop this existence. After all, they couldn't leave Hongyan Mavis powerless to resist. This was a variable that no one would have thought of outside of the scheme. Lu Yin hadn't expected such a variable to appear, and the moment it appeared, it brought death. The bloody figure looked at Lu Yin for a while before taking a step forward and disappearing. Lu Yin punched out. Although his speed was slow, he wouldn't give up. Even if this punch never touched this person, he would still attack. Just like Progenitor Chen, he would die standing. The star toad had been stunned for a long time and its scalp had gone numb. It knew very well how strong this existence was if Hongyan Mavis couldn't even resist, but it had never expected to fight against such an existence. This was an eternal life realm existence that had survived the calamity. From what it knew since ancient times, the strongest powerhouse should have been the human ancestor Taichu, who was second only to Taichu. These two were rare existences that made the star toad feel that even if they hadn't reached the eternal life realm, they were close to it. However, even these two shouldn't have been able to leave Hongyan Mavis powerless to resist. At the very least, she should have been able to land a punch, but now she couldn't even land a single punch. Monster, this was a monster. Blood covered everything in front of it. The star toad stared blankly at the bloody figure and opened its mouth wide. We're friends. The bloody sword landed with a hiss, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The star toad was cut down by the sword, and a wound that almost split it in half appeared on its body. The star toad crashed to the ground and rolled its eyes, pretending to be dead as blood flowed everywhere. The bloody figure took another step forward and appeared in front of Lu Yin. Lu Yin's punch didn't even land halfway, and he maintained his punching posture. It looked ridiculous, but only he knew how powerless he was. The bloody figure raised his sword high and slowly brought it down. It didn't land instantly like when he had killed Hongyan Mavis and the star toad, but it was so slow that it was only a bit faster than Lu Yin's punch. Even so, it would still land on Lu Yin's body before he could land his punch. This was a despairing contrast, and the bloody figure was enjoying Lu Yin's helplessness, despair, and resistance. He was toying with Lu Yin. Lu Yin's eyes went wide as he watched the blood-red blade descend upon his shoulder. The moment it touched him, he felt a bone-chilling cold as an intense pain spread throughout his body. The blade then tore through his flesh and bones, and he heard the sound of his bones being cut open. It was very, very slow, and it felt as if time itself had stopped. This moment of pain seemed to last forever. Lu Yin's punch was already out, but the bloody figure easily dodged it. The difference between them was just too great. No matter what Lu Yin did, he couldn't escape the fate of being killed. How could this be? Lu Yin couldn't accept it. He had been on the passive side for so long, and he had even died more than once. How could this still happen? He was unwilling to accept it. He had all sorts of powers and could face any enemy head-on. Even if the only true god acted against him, he was confident that he would be able to fight back. How could a shadow suddenly appear and kill him? He had power, and he definitely had the power to resist all sorts of possibilities. The sword cut through his body from his chest all the way to his abdomen. The physical strength that Lu Yin was so proud of was like paper in front of this bloody figure. Hongyan Mavis and the star toad all had unimaginably strong defenses, but they were still easily injured and on the brink of death. Lu Yin was no exception. The sword slashed down and blood splattered onto the ground, leaving behind a trail of blood. A small boat of light appeared around Lu Yin's body, and it shuttled back and forth for a second. Although the bloody figure's attack was slow, that was relative to someone at Lu Yin's level. It took less than a second for the attack to end, and Lu Yin could easily return to his previous state of being injured in a second. The small boat shuttled back and forth without being affected by the frozen void, which seemed to have exceeded the bloody figure's expectations. The bloody figure raised his hand and slashed at the small boat. The small boat shuttled back and forth, avoiding the attack. This scene gave Lu Yin a flash of inspiration. Flowing light didn't just chase after time through space. It also devoured much of the time that wasn't contained by the river of time. It was a time that was independent of their cognitive universe, and this bloody figure clearly couldn't affect that time. In that case, if he wanted to attack this blood-red figure, he would have to transcend this universe. But how?